Part 72. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 714. Judging by the calendar, summer is over and now it's autumn. It's just that the garrison is located in the south. In fact, there is not much difference between autumn and summer. The weather is still hot. Feel free to eat ice cream, but the fan will stay on all night as usual. Swivel chairs, drill holes, arched circles, swings, slides, seesaws, this is the sand pool in the small playground of the Toot Larry mansion. You naughty kids, let me go, or I won't be polite. The bald eagle Belmacan fluttered, but its wings were caught and there was nothing that could be done, and it couldn't peck people with its beak. Xiaozai stood by the sand pool with his hands on his hips and commanded, "Antonio, dig a hole quickly." Oh, in response, Antonio took a small shovel and quickly dug a large hole, just big enough to place an eagle. Seeing Lafite roughly stuffing the struggling bald eagle into the pit, Xiaozai said, "Press it down until the head is exposed. Lafite will take out his hands after burying it." Lafite replied, "I know. Okay, let's fill the hole." There is only one eagle head left exposed out of the sand. To be honest, the bald eagle Belmacan looks a little pitiful, but its voice does not sound worthy of pity. "Let me out, otherwise I will go crazy and kill you one by one." Beat him down. Xiaozai said, "It talks a lot." The chatty eagle. Lafite poked the eagle's head with his finger, "If you talk again, we will pluck out all your hair. You can only do sneak attacks. It's a shameful sneak attack. If you have the guts, let me go." "Let's do it again, a life and death battle." With a roll of his eyes, the bald eagle Belmacan taunted loudly. It was caught mainly when the insect net fell from the sky. Talking to Ginger and Fishcake. Of course, Ginger and Fishcake cannot speak. They just lazily curl up in a ball and bask in the sun on the stone pier. This is just the bald eagle's wishful thinking. Bald eagle Belmacan had made a good calculation. Among all the little girls, there was only one light aircraft carrier, Long Xiang. Moreover, they only have a good mouth, no training at all, and they do not have excellent carrier-based aircraft. As long as you fly into the sky, no one can do anything to you. Don't let go. However, the little loli didn't want to be aggressive, she just wouldn't let go anyway. Whether it is burying Amethyst or burying U81's 3 puppies, this is something that the town government does not advocate, and you will occasionally learn a lesson. However, if the bald eagle Belmacan was buried, everyone would be happy to see it except Dumpling Essex and MRS Dumpling CV-16, who regarded the bald eagle as a teacher. Even little Lolita can get candies as a reward every time they bully Belmacan. There is no sun, it is a cloudy day, the weather is cool and convenient for work. Sugu was wearing thick cloth gloves on his hands. He was using a brush to repaint the faded rocking tiger. He had been paying attention to the little loli, and finally he couldn't stand it any longer. He said, "Don't bully Belmacan. You must let her out before dinner." It was only mid-afternoon and it was obviously quite some time before dinner, which was not a good intention at all. The bald eagle stared at Sugu with its round eyes, and shouted, "You actually said that, what did you say, you bastard? I misjudged you, shit. I betrothed Dumpling to you with good intentions, but how dare you treat me like this? It's really a declining world, people's hearts are not as old as before, Dongwo and wolves, farmers and snakes, wolves and dogs, repaying kindness with hatred." "Shut up." Sugu walked to the sand pool and squatted down. He took off one of his gloves and flicked the beak of the bald eagle Belmacan with his bent fingers. "If you keep talking, I will dye your fur yellow and give it to you. You change the paint." The bald eagle has always been arrogant and will not give in. "Even if my beautiful feathers are stained with a little paint, I want you to look good. I am Dumpling's closest friend. As long as I say a word, you will never get Dumpling. I am opposed to your marriage." Ruhi was wearing a Kyoto uniform and was practicing archery on the grass not far away. Seeing the excitement here, she ran over and said, "What? They are a talented man and a beautiful woman. They are a match made in heaven. Is it your pet's turn to oppose it?" Ruhi patted Sugu's hand. "Do you think so?" "I think it makes sense," Sugu said. "That." When the soft and weak voice sounded, Sugu turned around and saw the fried dumplings Essex, and suddenly didn't know what to say. Essex hesitated and said for a long time, "Admiral, can you let Belle go?" Facing the red-faced dumpling, Sugu waved his hand to signal you to do whatever you want. Seeing Sugu surrender, the bald eagle let out a triumphant laugh. "Dumpling, wait a moment." With the corner of his mouth, Sugu walked towards the bald eagle Belmacan with a grim smile while carrying the paint bucket. "Admiral, I'm sorry on Belle's behalf." Bald eagle Belmacan shouted, "Dumpling, don't say you're sorry, don't give in, we." Essex grabbed Sugu's clothes and shook his head slowly. Sugu quickly said, "It's just a joke." Until Dumpling left with the bald eagle Belmacan and the little Lolita dispersed, Sugu looked at Ruhi with a bright smile and said, "You're not going to cheat me, are you unhappy?" Ruhi smiled playfully, "I'm helping you. Think about it, this time, if Dumpling objects and defends, it means you still need to gain favor." Dumpling just blushed and didn't speak, which means you can give out rings tonight. "I know how much favor Dumpling Essex has." Sugu raised his palms, and the thick cloth gloves were colorful, and he said, "I can't wait to give you a slap." Ruhi puffed up his chest and spread his hands, come on, hit me." Sugu put away his hand and showed disdain and disgust, "I won't fight. I feel so pitiful." His expression changed, this was something he didn't want people to mention. Ruhi gritted her teeth. She grabbed the paint bucket and then picked up the brush, "Try talking more." Before Sugu could say anything, Ruhi put down the brush himself and rubbed his slender fingers, which were stained with paint. "Look again, the skirt is also stained with paint, it's all your fault. This is simply an unreasonable disaster." Sugu said, "Is this also my fault? Can you please be reasonable? My clothes are dirty and you still blame me." Ruhi laughed to himself. Gone girls come from people's expectations, and the gone girls expected by people definitely don't have the unreasonable aspects of ordinary women. "Let's go, don't disturb my work." "It's a rare cloudy day today," Sugu said as he raised his head. "It rarely rains in the Tutlari residence and there is not a single dark cloud in the sky, so there is no need to worry about that. I'm just afraid that when the sun comes out again, it will be too hot and I don't want to work. I wonder if I should install a roof to cover the entire playground." Ruhi circled around the wagging tiger. She squatted down and lightly tapped on the newly painted area. "Do you want me to help you?" Sugu said unceremoniously, "Okay. Then give it to me." "What for you?" "Gloves." "You took it, what should I use?" Sugu said, "Go to the warehouse and get another pair." "Go and get it." "I'm too lazy to write a report later. That stingy guy in Leipzig is annoying me to death." Ziwi said, "Hey, I'm here to help you." Sugu said, "I don't need your help, it will be difficult to wash your clothes if they get dirty. Anyway, sister is doing the laundry. Xianghe heard this and will make you mad to death. If sister Xianghe has nothing to do all day, she will die of boredom." Sugu thought about Xianghe's wife-like character, and it was true. He said, "I'll give you the gloves, I just want to take a rest." Ruhi nodded, "Yes." Sugu handed the gloves to Ruhi, and he picked up U-47, who was watching nearby, hugged him and sat on the stone pier. Thought they were working together. Ruhi saw this scene. Hey, my admiral, I'm helping you paint, and you're playing with a little girl next to me. Watch your words." "What is play?" Ruhi dipped the brush into the paint bucket, and then saw several small paint buckets next to him. The tools included brushes and brushes, is this how you paint here? You don't know anything, Sugu replied. You deserve a beating. I'm still nagging you when I do things for you. But you're doing it all a disservice. I spent an afternoon repainting the rocking tiger in the small amusement park. It actually has many shapes like tiger, panther, and lion. Then he checked the swings, seesaws, etc. again. Although as a ship girl, even a little lowly, no one will get hurt easily. But if someone falls into disgrace, it will still make people feel bad. Sugu reminded all the little girls not to touch those wagging tigers. After thinking about it, he finally put a sign saying that the paint was still wet. Throwing all the remaining paint buckets, brushes into the trash can, Ruhi said, I've helped you so much, why don't you thank me properly? You should thank me. I gave you a chance to learn, and you will be better at painting in the future. Sugu saw Ruhi narrowing his eyes dangerously. Thank you, Master Ruhi. That's pretty much it, Ziwahi added. It's strange that the head maid didn't even think of painting the rocking tiger. Yes, Sugu thought to himself, even the head maid would not be more sensitive to this point. Sugu was also carrying a small bucket. He shook it and said, I'll give you some of this turpentine later. Ruhi and Huichi asked, what is this used for? You don't know this, Sugu said. If you don't use turpentine, what are you going to use to wash the paint? Ruhi clasped his hands behind his back. Why don't you wash it for me? Do it yourself and have enough food and clothing. Sugu didn't mind agreeing, but he knew very well that once he agreed, the girl would definitely show a look of disgust again. Ruhi hesitated to speak, and finally muttered something, but Sugu couldn't hear it at all. After taking a good bath and washing off the paint-stained areas on his clothes with turpentine, Sugu came out of the bathroom and unexpectedly saw Ruhi already finished washing and standing in his room. The girl had short, slightly wet hair and was wearing a cyan bathrobe. She usually doesn't dress like a flying eagle tomboy. She usually dresses in long skirts, short skirts, and kyoto uniforms. There is not such a big contrast in her cuteness, which is surprising, but it is also refreshing. You finished washing it so quickly. Why are you wearing a yukata? Sugu knew the difference between a kimono and a yukata very early on from Akage. Ziwahi raised his hand. Is there anything strange? Ichigo, Akage-san, and Kage-san wear them every day. I just rarely see you wearing it. Ruhi looked down and said, I suddenly want to try it. I bought it a long time ago. How do you like it? Does it look good? It looks good, Sugu admitted honestly. Ruhi blinked. How does it compare to an eagle? I don't know how to compare, unless you two stand side by side. When did you not stare at Fei Ying when he wore a yukata or kimono, then forget about it? How could Sugu be so easily led by others? He changed the topic. Speaking of which, I found that you and Fei Ying are quite similar. It's not like that. We don't look alike. You said I look similar to Sister Xianghe. We also have similar hairstyles. Fei Ying's hair is shorter. If it's any shorter, she'll be almost the same as you. Ruhi flipped it. Hair, showing a suspicious look again. Do you want to say that our figures are similar? Let me remind you, trouble comes from the mouth. Sugu didn't know how to explain it, but Ruhi didn't care much. She said, Fei Ying looks like a high school student. I look like a college student at least. Thinking that all the ship girls were young and beautiful, and had not changed at all, Sugu suddenly sighed. It's better for you, I feel like I'm getting old. Speaking of so many vicissitudes of life. Sugu said, originally, a few years have passed. Ruhi said, it doesn't matter, we will always be with you. Brother-in-law, you are here. Saratoga's voice suddenly sounded, and then she saw Ziwahi sitting by the bed in a yukata. Vixie. Ruhi twitched the corner of his mouth. Who said that? Who knows who? The two people immediately became tit for tat. Soon after, Ziwahi walked out of the room and walked away. Standing in the corridor, Sugu tried his best to pull his hand out of Saratoga's arms and said, "Jia, can you let me go? It won't work if I'm not there for a moment. She is a vixen and you are also a sneaky cat with a snort." Saratoga let go of Sugu's hand. "My sister and I are going to file a complaint." Saratoga also left. A laugh rang out, and Sugu saw Missouri standing not far away, with long, slightly curly brown hair draped over his shoulders. "Why are you laughing? You're not smiling." Missouri waved her hand when she saw Saratoga walking in front and turning back. "It's just a Shura field and noobs pecking each other." "You're finally back," Sugu said. "There are not many dangerous deep-sea ship girls in the waters near the tutelage, and even a new admiral can take care of them. The garrison's combat power is so powerful that it cannot be used. From time to time, the college asks everyone to give lectures, and some people don't even know what politeness means. To a certain extent, the town government has become a corporate thug. Whenever you encounter a deep-sea ship girl who has no solution, you will definitely find her. A very powerful deep-sea ship girl appeared a few days ago. Missouri was one of the people who went out, but everyone came back. She went to find the Enterprise on the way, and she just came back now." "Back?" Missouri said. "Well, Mr. Sue, didn't I ask you to trade Seafang and Enterprise for C-301 missiles last time?" It's gone. Someone asked the company to take it away. Someone from another ship girl branch, for the guided missile destroyer Changchun. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai-De Rong Yan. Chapter 715. This is the seaside. The tide rises and falls. The waves washed against the reef. On the reef, a girl was sitting there wearing a loose vest and hot pants. She was waiting for someone. She seemed a little bored after waiting for a long time without seeing anyone. Picking up small dried shells on the rocks and throwing them into the sea, the girl said, "Kawachi, they haven't come yet." A black-haired girl with a gentle temperament, Kawachi shook his head. "Yes. Why do we have to accept assistance from the ship girl headquarters?" "It's not that we have to accept assistance from Kanyang headquarters, it's the admiral who applies for assistance from Kanyang headquarters." Kawachi looked at the boundless sea in the distance. "Why, who calls our admiral a new admiral? Not only that, he is also an African. You only have the heavy cruiser Houston and me, the light cruiser, without a single capital ship. Then there are two enemies, the deep-sea heavy cruiser and the deep-sea battle cruiser. We can still win, but it is not something we can deal with easily. The admiral is worried we had an accident." Houston sighed. His admiral was African, there was really nothing he could do. It can't be like working in a company and you can change jobs at any time. The garrison is your home and the admiral is your relative, and you must never abandon it. Drawing on the rocks with his fingers, Houston complained, "They're not even here now." "What a big name." Kawachi took out a finely crafted pocket watch from his pocket. She looked at it and said, "The agreed time has not come yet." Houston sighed. She was tired of waiting, but there was nothing she could do. After a pause, she asked curiously, "Kawachi, who do you think the Kanyang headquarters will send here?" "How did I know?" Kawachi said. "There was a period of time called the Dark Ages. Many ship girls sank. During that time, everyone was really treated as a weapon. Later, the ship girl headquarters was established, and it has always been advocated that it is okay to waste resources. Safety comes first. In order to prevent anyone from being sacrificed, the ship's headquarters will probably dispatch a capital ship." "The ship girl branch next to us," Houston said. "The boss and the eldest sister seem to be the USS California. Although it is not a very strong battleship, it has been awakened for many years. I heard that it is highly trained and well equipped. The firepower is close to 150. Kawachi said, "Yes, California, everyone calls her Hotel California." "Why is it called Hotel California?" I don't know about that. Anyway, everyone yelled that way, so they followed suit. Kawachi reminded Houston, just don't yell in front of her, even though she won't do anything to you. Hotel California, Hotel Yamato, model worker Yamato. Houston laughed, and she said, do you think it was her who came over to California? If it was her, she could easily destroy the enemy. That's great, a battleship. As the secretary ship, Kawachi usually follows the admiral. She has met California many times. She said, she is the eldest sister and the big leader. This kind of support from us is just a small matter, and it is impossible to come. Then who do you think it will be? We'll find out later. Kawachi thought for a while. In the kanji branch, apart from California, the battleship Yamashiro, the aircraft carrier Hiryu, and the sisters Shiho and Ziwiho may also be there. Could it be Oklahoma? Holding the side of his face with one hand, Houston lowered his head. She is a battleship, and she is in the combat group. Her training level is not very high, so she is just right for this place. Come here to support, come here experience. I heard that she went on a sortie recently and hasn't come back. I don't know, it seems like the Oklahomas sorted out last month. As a girl, she is very concerned about her image. Houston said, Oklahoma, I remember she always wore braids. She felt so rustic, and she was a dark-skinned girl. Kawachi said, they are sun marks. While chatting, she saw a figure walking towards the sea breeze from the corner of her eye. Houston stood up immediately. She pushed the girl next to her. Kawachi, someone is coming. The figure was getting closer, and Houston could see it clearly. Her long silver hair and skirt were fluttering in the wind, and the person walking over was a slim girl. She was stunned for a moment. It's so small, so short, that's right. Don't tell me that there's only one destroyer coming. Let's see and then talk. Kawachi had already jumped off the rock, and it was obviously rude to wait. Houston, let's go, don't stand here anymore. Houston approached the girl. She raised her hand to say hello, looked around and found that there was no one else, so he asked, are you the only one? Yes, the girl replied. Judging from the figure of the girl, it is obvious that she is not what a battleship should have. Houston complained in his mind that a destroyer, or even a light cruiser, was useless anyway, and it would be a pity to abandon it if it was tasteless. It seems that the momentum is not very strong, so it is enough to say that it is not necessary to send people to support. If the strength is not enough, you still need to take care of it. She thought for a while. The battleship Veneto is still a little girl, and the battle cruiser Brave is a girl. She said, may I ask, are you a battleship? No, the girl shook her head. Why do you ask? Houston didn't think much about anything, such as taking care of the girl's self-esteem. She said, our enemies this time are the deep-sea heavy cruiser and the deep-sea battleship battle cruiser. Your eldest sister sent you here. The number of ship girls is much smaller than that of deep-sea ship girls. The main reason why we cannot lose in this battle that has lasted for so many years is because everyone has wisdom. Know how to bully the small with more, know how to bully the small with the big, know how to avoid their sharp edges, and don't just charge and attack stupidly. Peace of mind. Houston saw the silver-haired girl say with her hands behind her back, and then opened her hands. Hustle, and then a ship suit appeared behind him, with mechanical arms, armor, small turrets, and unfamiliar equipment. You don't know me, let me introduce myself. I am the Changchun, the guided missile destroyer Changchun. It's very powerful. It's just a deep-sea heavy cruiser and a deep-sea battle cruiser, it's not a big deal, just leave it to me. It's just. Houston's expression was contorted, unable to complain, and his shoulders were slumped. I think I've heard of guided missile destroyers, so it's you. It's me. I am the guided missile destroyer Changchun. The girl Changchun patted her chest. Houston saw the Changchun's confident smile. Guide missile destroyer, shelling, Torpedoes. The guided missile destroyer, of course, has missiles. Upstream -1 missiles and Penguin anti-ship missiles. Changchun looked to the left and to the right. The launchers were on both sides. Not every ship girl is knowledgeable. Houston blinked. She had not been awake for long, so she didn't know much about it. In fact, there was no record of the guided missile destroyer. Except for a few people, no one knew about it. It can be forgiven. She looked at the girl. Although the girl's chest was quite plump and fair, the ferocious turrets mounted on the battleships were not visible at all, and her heart became cold. Kawachi interrupted, "I've heard that guided missile destroyers are very powerful." Awesome. Changchun nodded, "Very awesome. Guided missile destroyers are invincible." Seeing the girl's bright smile, I thought, how could you praise me so much? Wangpo was selling her own melons and boasting, and Houston was worried about the next attack. Except for a few people, ship girls tend to be loose-minded and don't look like soldiers at all. I hope the other party is more reliable. This is at sea. Houston approached Changchun and said, "People divide training levels into 100 levels. How many are there in Changchun?" "No, it's not full, only 80 or 90. In fact, I can't remember how many." Changchun said, "She only remembers frying fish every day in the past." "Brag, even your eldest sister Californian is not that highly trained." However, Houston remained calm on the surface. 80 or 90, that's great. My training level is only 10. 10, Changchun said, "It's too low. You need to work harder. If it were me in the past, I would definitely tell you that lazy people will be sent to dig potatoes in Siberia, so you must be a good worker." Thinking that I have worked very hard and reached 10 in practice very quickly, Houston exhaled and said, "Then I will take a closer look at your heroic appearance in battle." "Well, let's take a good look at the guided missile destroyer." Changchun. Houston clenched her fists. "Please be humble," she said with intention. "Changchun is so powerful, even the deep-sea flagship is not afraid of it." Changchun was serious. She thought carefully about the equipment parameters of the deep-sea flagship. "No, the deep-sea flagship is not good, I can't beat it. In fact, if it is a deep-sea battleship with thick armor and high durability, I can't beat it." Soon after, facing the sea breeze, Houston smoothed his medium-length blonde hair and thought to himself, "You still know that you can't beat the deep-sea flagship." Returning to her companion Kawachi, she sighed, "Kawachi, I feel like we are going to be finished." Kawachi asked, "What did you just say?" Houston sighed, "You remember the Sail Island guard's house? You have been there many times. The Admiral and I went there once." Isn't there a destroyer Kajiro in the Sail Island guards? A little Lolita with short red hair. Every time she claims to be the protagonist, no matter what kind of deep-sea ship girl she is, it doesn't matter." Houston looked at Changchun's back. "Jean, there are 4 types of patrol capo level. Type IN2, a stack of side dishes. Type 3, a stack of side dishes. Type 4, a little more difficult. If you are too unlucky, you might have to struggle with it." Kawachi said, "I'm serious, I heard that guided missile destroyers are very strong." Houston said, "I just asked her, what are the parameters of your ship's equipment?" With his hands hanging down helplessly, Houston said, "She told me that the durability is 33, the firepower is 74, the torpedo is 1, and the armor is 40. Evasion is a metaphysics, so I won't go into details." Houston was just a little excited. "This is the only data, but it's really not high. The firepower of a battleship can easily reach hundreds, and I haven't seen anyone as arrogant as her. You think, sinking a deep-sea ship with one shot, or fighting a war of attrition, forget it, let's not talk about it. If waiting is really impossible, we can only retreat first. You and her leave first, and I will delay. If I sink, she must give me flowers and burn incense. Come on. Her speed is very high, a full 39 knots, which is very powerful. Give little Changchun some confidence. Kawachi heard more rumors. I want to give it too. The sea breeze roared, the giant steel shark flapped its tail fin on the sea surface, and the evil purple light shined like runes on the steel armor. The tall, silver-haired girl with twin tails, who has a commanding temperament, stands on top of the giant steel shark. Even if it sends chills down your spine on a hot day, that's a deep-sea battle cruiser. After sailing on the sea for a while, they finally found the enemy. Houston grew nervous and said, 2 o'clock. I saw it. Changchun's pursuit of enemies is no worse than others. She was very talkative, but in fact this was Houston's first time facing a deep-sea battle cruiser. She felt a little guilty. She subconsciously asked, what should we do now? Give it to me. For it. Don't worry, leave it to me. Houston saw Changchun raise his hand and snap his fingers, aim at the target, estimate the trajectory, 1, 2, 3, launch. The small missile flew out of the launcher with a gorgeous flame tail. To be honest, the attack looked simple and unpretentious, not as shocking as the battleship bombardment. Is that your attack, a missile attack? Houston asked. Yeah. Changchun crossed his arms and nodded. The missile was still in the sky. Houston saw Changchun sailing on the sea and turning around in a big circle. She asked, why did you look back? Let's go back, no need to look. Humph, a real man never looks back at the explosion, no, he is a girl. But explosions, impacts, flames, smoke. Houston saw the deep-sea ship girl struggling on the surface of the sea. She originally thought there would be a difficult battle, but nothing was used. Changchun turned around and said, it will probably take a while before it sinks. If you want to see it, just wait. There is no such a fast battle. How come there is such a battle? This is not right. Admiral or not, God is by my side. There was some silence during the return trip. After a long time, Houston finally couldn't bear it any longer. She said, a guided missile destroyer. Yes. Anti-ship missile. Stand in line, eat missiles, one bastard at a time. Houston bit his lip, invincible. It's okay. Changchun thought to the point, and she looked at Houston with satisfaction. Awesome. Hey, actually, there were no such powerful missiles before. It was all because my eldest sister gave me the Penguin anti-ship missile, but it's still not as good as my upstream -1 missile. Changchun said, I want stronger missiles, and I want more. How much does one attack cost? Powerful power must be accompanied by high consumption. Changchun hugged a number, not much. Even though he was not a householder, Houston knew that firewood, rice, oil, and salt were expensive, and he thought that the town government would not be able to afford it. Finally, he had the consolation that the consumption was at the level of a large household. Changchun suddenly said, although our support is free, the consumption will be reimbursed by your garrison. What? This was Kawachi's exclamation. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 716. Changchun. Changchun. What? Standing barefoot in the clear stream, Changchun heard the cry. She dropped the pebbles in her hands and straightened up, and saw a figure, Potato. Don't call me Potato. Okay, Obanon. Not potatoes. In the breeze of the field, the flowers and plants were swaying. Wearing a beautiful wreath on her head that she had just knitted, the little Lolita Obanon in a white dress said, Changchun, the eldest sister is looking for you. What does the eldest sister want from me? Changchun asked. I don't know, I was reading in the dormitory, and then she asked me if I had seen you. Obanon sat down on the grass on the slope, the sun fell on her body, and her white skirt spread out like blooming flowers. I say you are here, and she will ask me to come find you. Changchun walked barefoot from the stream onto the grass, put on white sandals, and said, "Okay, let's go back." Changchun walked fast, walking in front, and Obanon followed behind. She smiled and looked at the back of the girl whose name used to be Kuagan. Among so many people, it was only because of Tudo that we met, got to know each other, stayed with each other, and became good friends. "Changchun, are you causing trouble again?" Obanon asked. The grape trellis in the yard was knocked down by thunder and lightning. "It's none of my business. Also, Obanon, do you know?" Changchun stretched out his hand and shook it with 3 fingers. "Total of the 2 last time, my battle results already have this number, no one is higher than me. Is it to select the outstanding ship girl of the year? Then it must be me." "Yes, you are awesome," Obanon said, "you are awesome. As a destroyer, it generally undertakes escort missions and is responsible for air defense, anti-submarine, reconnaissance, patrol, security, fire support, etc. Because the firepower is relatively low, night battles are generally avoided if possible. It is difficult for torpedoes to be effective, and it is not so easy to get results. In fact, there is a reason for this. Destroyers are all little Lolita. Although it is natural to go out as a ship girl, you must go through a long period of learning. Of course I'm great." Changchun chuckled, holding the back of his head with both hands. "I'm no longer a destroyer, I'm a guided missile destroyer now. I can launch missiles before the battleship can attack, and I can kill the enemy from a distance. Destroy it, no matter it is a deep-sea destroyer or a deep-sea battleship, no one can defend against my attack." Obanon bit his lip. Everyone was originally a destroyer. Who would have thought that the other party just went out for a trip, and when she came back, she turned into a beautiful girl, and her real name was changed to Changchun. She obviously used to be a little girl who wore a tall leather hat, because her bangs were all hidden inside the hat, making people wonder if she had a Mediterranean hairstyle, and she also liked to wear a fur-edged coat like a cloak. Especially when I like to call people gay, I feel silly, but I still work very responsibly, but now I'm not so responsible. Awesome, he just can't counter submarine. Obanon thought about what he heard from friends, and that he used to go to school with ordinary people. After studying together for several years, my classmates quickly turned into young girls, and only I remained the same. My classmates already know how to talk about some handsome boy, but I don't know what to say. Then everyone no longer played with throwing handkerchiefs, turning flower ropes, or kicking shuttlecocks. Over time, good friends no longer knew how to talk, so they left the society of ordinary people and came here, but even though Changchun became a girl, our friendship has not changed. I think someone must be messing with me. Changchun was depressed, remembering that he had read a lot of books specifically for this, and spent the whole afternoon in the library, almost forgetting to eat dinner. I watched the guided missile destroyer Changchun. According to the information, there is clearly a bombardier, but I can't do anti-submarine warfare. It's ridiculous. Maybe the growth together is not over yet. Obanon was sensible, but she did not gloat and put forward her own ideas. It has been a while since I grew into a guided missile destroyer. Changchun said, I can feel that it is already a complete body. It must be because I am too powerful, so I must balance my power, otherwise the rest people don't have to play anymore. After walking a few steps, she was still feeling unhappy. Changchun bent down and flicked away an insect that landed on a blade of grass. The ship girl comes from steel, history, and memory. I just want to say that those who think that Changchun cannot be used for anti-submarine warfare, they all deserve to be shot in the forehead. You idiots, how can this happen? Obanon put her hands behind her back and comforted her. Actually, To you, anti-submarine warfare doesn't matter at all. If you are not equipped with sonar and bombardiers, anti-submarine warfare will do no harm at all. If you are equipped with sonar and bombardiers, how do you want to launch missiles? So you don't understand. Whether you can do it or not is two different things. I know how to counter submarine and I don't want to do it. Who would despise one's ability? Annoying Chang Chun sighed and shook his head. Forget it, let's not talk about the sadness. Well, actually, Obanon, you just called me, I thought you asked me to have lunch. There was no pocket watch or watch, but there was an alarm clock in the dormitory. Obanon looked at the sky, which was blue. She thought for a while, it seems like dinner is about to begin. What do you think is better to eat, 6 meatballs, firewood dog meat, sauced pig's trotters or dongpo pork? You can't find those things in the cafeteria. And you're a traitor to the revolution. Obanon clapped his fingers. The potato feast is still delicious. Baked potatoes, steamed potatoes, fried potatoes, roasted potatoes, fried potatoes. I'm no longer courageous, Chang Chun said, I don't like eating potatoes now. My Chinese food is unparalleled in the world, unrivaled in the world. I punch Japanese food and kick French food, and it's even more insignificant to try to profit. You don't know how to cook. Why can't I? Obanon quoted what Chang Chun just said, whether it can be done and whether it can be done are two different things. It's good that you know. Chang Chun picked a flower casually, and Obanon, a flower lover, puffed up his face from behind. The cooking and cooking skills are as good as those of Sister Yuxian. She is a perfect wife. Chang Chun held her long silver hair in the sea breeze. It's strange to say that I remember not having any feelings for Sister Yuxian before. Since I became Chang Chun, I miss her so much. On the other side, the tall woman took out the folder from the filing cabinet in the office, looked at it and found that it was not the file she wanted, and stuffed it back again. California, have you found it? She tucked her long hair behind her ears. The woman who spoke did not tie up her black hair as usual and let it hang long behind her back. She was sitting on the edge of the sofa, with a large stack of newspapers on the coffee table in front of her. I didn't see it. I remember putting it here before. California's fingers opened the documents one by one, and she turned back. Miao Gao, how are you doing there? Still not found. Miao Gao quickly opened newspapers one after another, glanced at the titles, and then hurriedly closed them and released them. Forget it if you can't find it. California simply closed the filing cabinet. She stood by the desk, picked up the porcelain cup and took a sip of water. I have asked Obanon to find Chang Chun. Temporarily stopping what he was doing, Miao Gao leaned on the back of the sofa, then crossed his legs and sat elegantly. Everyone calls ship girls heroic spirits and elves. If you ask me, a ship girl is a ship girl. Mayoko didn't have any taboos. She continued, as supernatural beings, we ship girls are not like ordinary people who change our appearance as we age. For example, the snowblower from the Mori Town Wardens has changed from a Lolita to a young girl. Well, I can't say she's a girl, she feels younger than us. Has she grown up because she wants to become a bride? But her admiral is also able to do it. She used to treat her as a daughter, then as a sister, and now as a wife. He didn't feel it. Is it a grudge? Isn't it said that because the relationship is too close and everyone knows everything, there is no way to have love, like childhood sweethearts? California is usually steady, but this time she burst into laughter, and her expression became distorted. It is said that men regard their father's marriage as their ultimate dream. Because they cannot marry their daughters, they call their daughters their lovers in previous lives. What? Mayoko laughed and leaned on the armrest of the sofa, shrugging her shoulders. After a while she sat up. Maybe he regards Fubuki as his daughter or sister, but Fubuki doesn't think so. Fubuki is still very powerful, and he knows that the admiral will never. A little loli is getting married, So she works hard to grow up. The little loli becomes a slim girl, then a female college student with glasses, and finally an intellectual beauty. Maybe it's the other way around. California smiled. With this change, no matter whether she is a little Lolita, a girl, or a young woman, she is still a destroyer. Her ship equipment parameters will not change at all. Speaking of it, there is also a kind of growth, or it is called transformation. I have only heard of it and have never seen it. Many people suspect that there is no such thing at all. The appearance may change drastically, or there may not be any change at all. This is not the point is the ship. The parameters of the equipment have changed, and even the ship type has changed. The light carrier has become an aircraft carrier, and the battle array has become an aviation battle array. Never seen it, California said. It's our little Changchun. Yes, it's because of her that I believe in this kind of growth. It used to be a small destroyer, but with such a little height, it suddenly turned into a guided missile destroyer. Now no one in our entire ship girl division can be her opponent, and neither can you. It wasn't possible in the first place. It will be even harder when she gets the C-301 missile. Miao Gao said, haha, I went to visit the Enterprise and saw that she had been tossing Jiat and Bauer. It turned out that she got the C-301 missile. I told her about little Changchun and asked her for the missile, but she simply severe but cowardly, always scheming, willing to do big things without sacrificing his own life, and forgetting his integrity when he sees small gains. California recited a sentence and left. She said, decisive, generous, fair, fearless, careful, and thoughtful. She is courageous and responsible. To be honest, I am impressed by the company, but if she is not talking about serious business, she is always smiling playfully, which she learned from Missouri. California has worked with businesses for many years. Miao Gao asked curiously, Missouri, it's a very powerful battleship. Very strong. California sighed, and the comparison between people was irritating. But he has a messy personality. He should be traveling somewhere now. By the way, you have been to our place before, don't you remember? I don't remember. Miao Gao continued to flip through the newspaper, glanced at it and closed it subconsciously. He just put it down and immediately picked it up and opened it again. I found it. The company gave me the C-301 missile. She asked me to ask Xiao Changchun if he knows anyone. Miao Gao spread the newspaper on the coffee table and clicked, this person is Sugu. Miao Gao continued, his garrison suppressed the deep-sea flagship twice. Lexington, Saratoga, Bismarck, Tirpitz, it is difficult for others to have one, it is enough to go everywhere show off. He hasn't been beaten yet, and now the admiral is becoming more and more gentle. It was a long time ago when California picked up that newspaper. I only remember the photo of model worker Yamato sitting naked on the sea, but I have almost forgotten the rest. After all, there are so many things happening every day. She read the article roughly and put down the newspaper. Incredible garrison. The world is invincible. California said, it's actually difficult. It's better not to attack. Otherwise, even our ship girl headquarters would not have so many resources to support so many battleships. Ordinary enemies, if they are just deep-sea destroyers and deep-sea light cruisers, would not dare to send them out. It's a loss-making business because you don't make enough money to consume. Judging from the report, these people are very strong. How were they trained? Have no idea. The capital ships are so powerful, and there should be many powerful heavy cruisers, light cruisers, and destroyers. Maybe. Anyway, it's very possible that he knows Changchun in the governor's office. Miao Gao said, how long has little Changchun been here with us? It's been half a year, it must be winter. I saw her sailing alone on the sea that day when I went to Omaha. I remember Changchun said that there used to be a guard in the mansion, but the admiral disappeared, and then we didn't ask. Miao Gao said, after all, you shouldn't ask so clearly about sad things. Yes, especially since she is a little Lolita, it makes people feel distressed to see her. Do you think it will happen? Miao Gao said, actually, the company has said a lot, and I'm quite skeptical. Da-da-da. The sound of footsteps came and a person jumped into the office. Sister California, what's going on? Sister Miao Gao, you are back. When California saw Chang Chun, she smiled, I have nothing to do with you, but your sister Miao Gao has something to do with you. I have a good thing for you. A gift. Chang Chun showed his hands politely. This is not for you. Miao Gao smiled and said, hello sister. Good sister, super good sister. Although Miao Gao is Japanese, but we have been together for so long, she is still a good person, a really good sister. Chang Chun doesn't mind at all and has no grudges. Miao Gao took out the C-301 missile, and Chang Chun immediately pounced on it. California looked at the girl holding the C-31 missile against her face. She thought for a while and said, little Chang Chun, let me read you a newspaper. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai Rong Yan. Chapter 717. Little Loli went to class. Although the weather was still so hot, their summer vacation was over. The little girl Long Xiang is not very strong, but she likes to point fingers. York City only practices carrier-based aircraft when she is in class, so as not to worry. This technique is called Sachi scissor, and the key point is. York City stood by the dock, and it was her daughter-in-law who was talking about it. In the past, I could only be a younger sister, but now I can be a teacher and older sister. Wearing a black dress, MRS Dumpling CV-16 stood beside her, and Ark Royal was also beside her, staring closely at the carrier-based aircraft hovering in the sky. After explaining the key points carefully and making another flying movement, York City looked around and sighed. Everything is fine, but my sister Bumblebee is really annoying. I have no idea. I can be happy just guarding the B-25 bomber every day. After eating and sleeping, she felt that her butt had grown bigger again, and she might become a waste if things continued like this. It was a rare moment of leisure, with no little Loli making noises around, so Sugu sat on the edge of the pier. He glanced at York City and thought that this girl was gradually growing up and becoming more and more difficult to deal with. So if my sister is so smart in her business, she shouldn't be a fool. Holding the paper bag in his arms, Sugu reached into the paper bag and took out a breadstick as thick as his little finger. He didn't eat it, just stretched the sticks into the air. Suddenly a dark shadow passed in front of him. He took back his hand, and the breadstick in his hand disappeared. Someone Sugu. The voice was so familiar that he knew it was from Missouri without looking back. Missouri walked to Sugu and stood next to him. It doesn't have to be like this. What is this and that? Twisting her long brown wavy hair, she really wanted to cut it short, but was reluctant to do so. Missouri said, I've already told you that the company has entrusted the person to take away the missiles. It seems to be the heavy cruiser Myoko. Ask the guided missile destroyer Chang Chun if she knows an admiral named Sugu. So you don't have to wait here every day, just like Wang Fushi. You will come back naturally if you come back, and you won't be able to do anything if you don't come back. It has been several days since I returned to the garrison from Missouri and informed me about Chang Chun. Sugu took a breadstick and handed it to Missouri. He said, I don't know if our courage has turned into Chang Chun. I'm not waiting for her, I'm just feeding the seagulls. Without any weirdness, Missouri said, yes, after all, there are so many wedding ships, and a small Chang Chun is not worth looking forward to. Yes, it should be like this, eat when it's time, drink when it's time, and hit the road after eating and drinking. It doesn't matter if I wait, it doesn't matter if I don't wait, you are just looking for trouble, Sugu said. And what does good to go mean? Look, Autumn is here, and the Queen of Autumn is asking for help. With a smile, Missouri held the breadstick. Instead of feeding it to the seagull, she took a bite. Then she chewed it, and the mixed taste of sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, and salty filled her mouth. She immediately spit the bread out, ba ba ba. Turning the breadsticks between his slender index and middle fingers, Missouri frowned. This tastes. They were usually evenly matched opponents, but they accidentally tricked Missouri once. Sugu said happily, I will feed you seagulls, and you will eat whatever you want. This is London's work. If you often walk by the river, your shoes will get wet. It would be a mistake. Missouri walked behind Sugu, bent down and put his hands on Sugu's shoulders, with his face close to him. Hey, you are trying to make me eat bread made in London. I push you down. Go ahead and don't stop. As long as I shout, Bismarck and the Prince of Wales will make sure your life is worse than death. Of course Sugu knew very well that Missouri was just joking. Missouri stood up and said, no wonder you didn't feed it to Quincy. Feed it to the seagulls here, please, even seagulls are still alive. Isn't this good? Quincy is a pet in the tutelage, and anyone can feed it, regardless of adults or children. If you just feed dangerous and poisonous items and incur retaliation from New Orleans, you will be responsible for it. Sugu said, Xiao Zai ate bread in the morning and let the seagulls take it away. Seagulls, pirates. Missouri sneered, you still came to take revenge. You suddenly changed from revenge against society to a real man. Sugu shook the breadstick. Actually, London worked very hard. It's not a question of whether you work hard or not, Missouri thought to herself, putting live fish in the pot to boil, taking off the ropes of crabs and then steaming them, let alone these trivial matters. Obviously Yuxian has said it many times, but he still refuses to change despite repeated admonitions. He goes his own way, insists on his own opinions, and is extremely stubborn. The British style is indeed not suitable for cooking, but dim sum and black tea are still on the table, and this level of preparation is the only one in London. Sugu explained, for London, it's just a bit unpalatable, but it won't kill people, and it won't kill seagulls. If seagulls can't be poisoned, what's the point? Missouri was suddenly discouraged. She usually ate meat happily, and she was never a protector of small animals. She never had a protector of small animals, only a protector of cute little animals. Until the seagull took away the breadstick in his hand, Missouri asked Sugu to get 2 more breadsticks, and then caught the flying seagull in an instant. Awesome! Missouri held up the seagull's wings, proudly. Awesome! Sugu said. After stroking it twice, Missouri threw the seagull into the air. She clapped her hands and her eyes fell on the city of York not far away. Speaking of coming to York City, Sugu said, you can't deceive her, she has already resisted. There was only one reason for York City's resistance. Missouri said, hey, you know how to bully your own ship girl all day long. Sugu said shamelessly, I am a good person. Missouri laughed, you are a good person, and you will definitely be able to find someone better than me. I was also given a good guy card. Sugu picked up a breadstick and threw it into the sky. I have found someone who is 10,000 times better than you. Her name is Lexington, and she is now my wife. She's good. The hall, the kitchen, the perfect wife. Lexington isn't here, and she can't hear the nice things you say about her, Missouri said. He snorted softly, thinking that he should be especially careful around you. Sugu said, I will always like Lexington, and I will always like my wife. To show your loyalty, the jeans outlined her round hips and slender legs. Missouri sat down next to Sugu. Su, I heard that what you did in the past was quite bad. I'm pretty good. Sugu thought to himself that there were only a few wedding ships at the time. There is no married little loli, otherwise I really don't know what to do. Definitely join the military police, although the young wife is great and it's definitely worth it. Never sunk, that's the most important thing. After all, nothing will happen in the game, but in reality, nothing can happen if you have zero favorability. Shikia, Yingrui, and there are quite a few yanderis among the ship girls. Missouri showed disgust. I have been awake for so many years and traveled all over the world. From the governor to the general admiral, you are the worst admiral. Seriously, Missouri put a hand around his chest and held the side of his face with the palm of his hand. The garrison was torn apart, and all the ship girls were separated. Mr. Su, is there anyone who knows that you are back and is unwilling to go back? Guard's house, after all, you have gone too far. Consultant Su, did I go too far? It's too much, abandoning the ship's wife, abandoning the family and children. Missouri said, if this happens, what should you do? Then try to get her back. You say this without any sincerity at all, Missouri said. Sugu said, there won't be any ship girls who don't want to return to the governor's mansion. Missouri said, survivor bias means that those who return to the town must still miss you. Do you think there is such a possibility? In fact, many ship girls know that you are here, but are unwilling to come back. The air suddenly froze. Sugu slowly turned his head to look at Missouri. He paused and said, I don't know. There was silence for a moment, then Missouri said, I'm sorry. Sugu smiled bitterly, why are you apologizing? After sitting for a while, he no longer felt interested in feeding the seagulls. Sugu got up and wanted to go back to the governor's mansion. Missouri hesitated for a moment, and then she stood up again. It seems like someone is coming. Sugu looked towards the seaside. What a coincidence, Changchun. I guess so. Waiting quietly, as the figure got closer and closer, Sugu saw a cute girl with silver hair. Dressed in a sailor's uniform and a bonnet on her head, she waved as she sailed. Admiral! Admiral, I finally found you. Approaching the pier, the silver-haired girl stopped on the sea. Hee, Admiral, are you a little unrecognizable after changing into new clothes? Kuagan, I am Kuagan. But my name is Changchun now. Let me tell you, super powerful missiles destroyer. What Missouri said just now still affected his mood. Sugu pursed his lips, tried his best to smile and said hello. Changchun stood on the sea and stretched out his hand. Admiral, can you hug me? The shore of the pier is a certain distance from the sea and cannot be reached at all. Sugu squatted down, stretched out his hand, and said, no, I can't reach it. I'd better pull you up, it doesn't seem possible either. Admiral, do you mean I'm fat? It's better to say that Admiral is really inferior, Changchun said, then I'd better climb up. Look at me. Changchun was obviously a very energetic girl. It was clearly on the sea, just like walking on flat ground. Changchun took a few steps back and then started to run. She approached the pier, stretched out her hands to grab onto the edge of the pier, and climbed onto the pier easily with her nimble skills. Chiang. Changchun raised his hands in a pose. Admiral, this action is worth 10 points. Sugu said with a smile, 10 points. Changchun blinked, is it 100% system? Missouri smiled beside her, this girl was interesting. Changchun asked, Admiral, who is this sister? Missouri. So beautiful. Missouri smiled, you're really good at talking. The Admiral has become more handsome, too. Sugu said, Changchun has become beautiful. I have always been so beautiful. Changchun looked confident. Changchun stared at Sugu, why is the Admiral here? Is he waiting for me? Even if it's a lie, boys can't make girls sad. Now that you are talking about it, Sugu said, yes, I'm waiting for you every day. He smiled, Changchun chirped. How did the Admiral know that Kakang had become Changchun? Then he asked Sister Miao Gao to ask me if I knew an admiral named Sugu. Sister California gave me a newspaper. I didn't expect that the admiral had returned, built such a powerful garrison, and destroyed the deep-sea flagship. If I had known about it earlier, I could have returned to the garrison earlier. They asked me to take a boat to Sichuangziu, and said they would send me here. The cruise ship can't outrun me, and they can't outrun me. My speed is 39 knots, although it's a little slower than Sara. It seems that Tashkent's speed is also very fast, that little hairy girl. Don't worry, there's no danger. I've been to many places by myself before. I told you, I am now a super powerful guided missile destroyer. I can easily destroy any enemy. Sister Yuxian, and Sister Chungqing, where are Ningai and Pinghai? The governor's mansion is up there, there are so long stairs. Come on, let's go back. Changchun was walking towards the governor's mansion, and walking, she suddenly stopped, turned around, and put her hands behind her back. The admiral is back, will he leave again? Sugu said firmly, of course not. We will stay together with Changchun from now on and never be separated. Changchun said, how about pulling the hook? Missouri and Sugu walked behind, and she saw Changchun. As a ship girl, she is more sensitive than anyone else. Her heart trembled, she kicked Sugu's feet and lowered her voice, Sugu, I don't know what you did in the past, and I don't know why you left everyone. If you don't want to say it, I won't force you. The most important thing about ship girls is their feelings. No matter where the admiral is, they will try to return to him. Maybe someone knows you are here and is angry and unwilling to come back. Maybe someone tells you not to be your ship girl. They are definitely not sincere. Meaningful. Find them and tell them. I'm back. I understand my mistake and will never leave. Why was the ship girl headquarters established? To protect the ship girl. I'm not as soft-hearted as your ship girls. Who asked you to call me into the town hall? I don't mind, executing the admiral or something. Missouri growled, don't tell me, you still don't know how to do it. Sugu walked into Changchun and hugged Changchun, don't worry, I will never leave again. What are you doing, Admiral? Changchun put his arm around Sugu's waist and hugged him tightly, Admiral, do you want to eat Changchun's tofu? It's really disgusting, you're a hooligan. Until Sugu let go of Changchun, the girl bent down and said, the hat has fallen off. The sea breeze suddenly blew, and Changchun's silky silver hair fluttered. She held her bonnet in one hand and curled her little finger with the other. He sniffed, tears welling up in his red eyes. There were more and more tears, sliding down his face and dripping from his chin, but there was a smile on his face. You can't miss the hook. I didn't cry, Changchun didn't cry. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 718. The Admiral and the ship's wife reunited after a long absence, and I'm afraid they don't need outsiders by their side. Missouri had no interest in making light bulbs, so she said hello and left. In fact, several people standing nearby practicing carrier-based aircraft had already discovered Changchun's arrival, but they just didn't go over to join in the fun. Seeing Missouri approaching, York City asked curiously, who is that? Evergreen. Unlearned, York City said, destroyer. Missouri smiled slightly, it's not a destroyer, it's a guided missile destroyer. In terms of combat effectiveness, I'm afraid you are no match for me, believe it or not. Later York City retracted her gaze, and she showed a disdainful smile towards Missouri. She has grown up after having been taught so many lessons. Sighing in his heart, Missouri held the paper bag filled with breadsticks that Sugu had taken away, thinking that York City had no choice but to look for Hindenburg. I wiped away the tears, but the circles under my eyes were still a little red. With her silky silver hair beating, Changchun ran up the long steps from the pier to the governor's house 2 or 3 times. She stood on top and waved, Admiral, hurry up. Walking into the Tutelary mansion, except for the chirping of cicadas, it was quiet here. After all, the little Lolita who usually like to run around are all in class, and the adults each have their own places to go, such as the coffee shop, library, chessboard room. When she encountered a counterattack on the road, she was sweeping the fallen leaves under the phoenix tree with a broom. In fact, according to Sugu's opinion, cleaning only needs to be done once in the morning and once in the evening. However, as a maid, she has no time to fight back. At this time, she saw Changchun, and her eyes swept over the girl's body. Her eyebrows were familiar, but she couldn't remember who it was. Thinking she was probably just a guest, she didn't say anything. Changchun politely shouted, "Sister, fight back." Sugu said, "Counterattack, guess who this is?" After thinking for a long time, the counterattack could not give an answer, so Changchun revealed his identity. "Changchun," fighter said to himself with a broom in his hand, his voice was very soft and unnoticeable. She was full of doubts. Did the governor's house have such a ship girl? Or the admiral's newly acquired ship girl? Guogan, Sugu explained, Guogan grew up and became Changchun. Oh, in fact, I still don't quite understand the counterattack. Her housekeeping ability is perfect, but she is slightly lacking in other aspects. Compared with her sister's reputation, she still needs to learn more. Leaving counterattack and walking under the shade of the trees, Changchun said, "Sister, counterattack is still working as a maid." "She just likes the maid's job," Sugu said. Changchun said, "I work hard, she doesn't even know about me." "I didn't tell everyone about you," Sugu explained. Changchun asked, "Why?" "I don't know if Changchun is our Changchun yet." Sugu only told a few people about the unspecified matter and didn't publicize it everywhere. If it wasn't the case, it would be nothing but embarrassment. "Changchun is of course our Changchun." After taking 2 steps, Changchun reached out and brushed his bangs. "If you don't recognize Changchun, you should recognize Guogan. I look quite similar to before." "It doesn't look like that anymore," Sugu thought to himself. Judging from the game's illustrations, Destroyer Guogan is undoubtedly a little Lolita. Who would have thought that she would now be a beautiful girl with a pretty figure? We haven't seen each other for so long, and without the support of intelligence, no one dares to make casual assertions even if they look similar. Changchun strode forward. "Let's go see Sister Yuxian first." "Admiral, do you think Sister Yuxian can recognize Changchun?" Sugu said, "I guess not." Standing at the intersection, Changchun looked around. Where is Sister Yuxian? Even though there were so many people in the guarded mansion, Sugu knew everyone very well, not to mention beings like Leg Immortal Yuxian. He thought for a while, maybe read a book in the room. Changchun nodded thoughtfully and said, "Sister Yuxian, Sister Chungqing, and Ning Hai Ping Hai, there are exactly 4 of us." "Do they play mahjong?" "Occasionally, I play, but rarely. I have watched too many movies about the Republic of China, and whenever Yuxian or Chungqing wears a cheongsam to play mahjong, Sugu feels very weird." "Where is Sister Yuxian's room?" Sugu thought for a while and said, "Actually, it doesn't have to be in the room, maybe in the kitchen." Changchun touched his belly. "It just so happens that I haven't eaten for a day." "Why haven't you eaten?" Since Changchun hadn't eaten yet, Sugu decided that everyone should go to the kitchen first. "Even if Yuxian is not there, you can go find something to eat." "Because I'm anxious to come back." "There's no need to rush." "Because I want to be the admiral." Changchun chuckled and asked, "Admiral, or chief? Aren't you called comrade?" Changchun shouted, "Hello, comrade. Hello, comrade." Changchun puffed up his chest, "I am the successor of socialism." "What a coincidence, so am I. I'm still the successor of communism." Sugu smiled and paused suddenly. "I thought to myself that I was just a young pioneer and a member of the Communist Youth League." I was too lazy to write my application for joining the party, and I was not even a party activist. Walking through the dormitory building, I didn't see Lexington in the office, and Saratoga didn't sleep on the sofa and read comics, but the ceiling fan hanging from the ceiling was slowly rotating. From a distance, I saw Bizai, who had just walked down the corridor. He seemed to have just woken up, holding his slightly messy hair and yawning. Without waiting to say hello, the girl saw Changchun. Without any curiosity at all, she put on her slippers and stepped on the ground and walked away. San Juan, Xiao Zai doesn't know him, and maybe there are many little lowly girls who don't know him. However, Bizai is quite famous in the governor's mansion and everyone knows him. Changchun asked, Bizai. Sugu said, she is always like this. She is a dead otaku. She is hopeless. Leave her alone. Oh. Next to the office is the cafeteria, which is empty outside of meal times. When he walked into the kitchen, he saw Yuxian wearing an apron and standing by the stove. Chungqing was squatting on the ground not knowing what he was looking for. Ningai and Hepinghai, who didn't have much difference except for their breasts and hairstyle, spotted the two people first. It used to be a Soviet ship, but it became a Changchun ship later. It is said that everyone is not familiar with it at all, but it does not prevent Changchun from saying hello warmly. Ningai, Pinghai. Sister Chungqing. Sister Yuxian. Yuxian turned around, and when she saw Changchun, she suddenly felt familiar and close, but she didn't recognize him, so she was stunned and felt confused. Not knowing what to say, she smiled softly and implicitly. It was once the light cruiser Dawn Goddess, and later became the Chungking. It had a similar experience. In fact, the main reason is that in daily chats, Sugu often talks about how Guogang grew up and became the Changchun Hao. Chungqing was the first to see the clues. She hesitated, Guogang? Changchun. Changchun stood up straight, stretched out her hand and saluted, yes, Guogang. This is the guided missile destroyer Changchun. It protects the country and the Ministry of Agriculture, and opens up territories and fisheries. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai Rong Yan. Chapter 719. This was in the coffee shop of the town hall, and the person standing behind the bar at this time was not Atlanta, the boss, or her sisters Juno and Santiago. Richelieu stood there with his long golden hair tied up. Colorado, what do you want to drink? Not to mention that as a ship girl and a battleship, she possesses powerful power. I understand fashion, I understand painting, I understand a lot, including bartending. Richelieu holds the shaker, she is now the bartender. Not an alcoholic like the Prince of Wales or Kaga, Colorado actually doesn't like drinking. But Richelieu asked, and she thought about it. Cocktails are mixed drinks. She said, let's have a drink from a bar with more flavors and colors. There were various drinks, wines, juices, and candies on the bar. Richelieu glanced briefly and wondered what kind of wine could be made with these. She said, this is the only thing here, I will try my best. She still understands more or less, and Colorado doesn't force it. She nodded, it's troublesome. Polite. Richelieu skillfully poured various drinks, wines, juices, etc. into cups in order of density. Soon, colorful cocktails were placed in front of Colorado, it's mixed in a mess, without a name. Maryland watched from the side, and she said, Richelieu, make me a drink too. I want the strongest kind of wine. Colorado looked at the clearly layered and colorful drinks, and she couldn't bear to drink them. Hearing Maryland's words, she interrupted, Richelieu, ignore her, she's looking for a fight after drinking. Sister, you are going to become a mother-in-law, Marilyn said, sparring, that's just fighting. Seeing the two sisters staring at each other, Richelieu tried to smooth things over. Marilyn, aren't you a combative Mary? How about a Bloody Mary? Okay, now that there were steps to go down, Marilyn immediately agreed. In fact, it is not very authentic, there are many things missing, but at least the color is red. Richelieu pushed the Bloody Mary towards Marilyn's eyes. She looked around and asked as if nothing had happened, last time the Admiral drank this, where did he go? Marilyn took the cup and took a small sip. She felt that the taste was not good, but she couldn't tell. She said, that guy, I don't know where he went. Oh, Richelieu responded, but there was no trace of disappointment on his face, thinking that maybe he would come later. Bumblebee and Guam were playing chess, and she lost 3 games in a row, each time miserably. In the end, as if she had been insulted, she leaned on the back of the wicker chair with dull eyes. The unicorn was sitting in the corner. She had just finished playing a piece, took a sip of water, and started playing again. The sound became more ethereal and melodious. Richelieu was still making drinks and watched for a long time. It wasn't until he saw Bazai entering the cafe that Saratoga left the bar. Royal Oak was always sleepy-eyed, and North House wasn't much better. Even though he had just fallen asleep, Bazai came to the coffee shop and immediately curled up on the sofa, squinting his eyes and looking like he wanted to sleep again. Saratoga pushed Bazai, didn't you sleep yesterday? Bazai didn't dare to be presumptuous around his sister. But she slept with the Admiral last night and didn't care about anything except cultivating immortality. Anyway, there was nothing she could do about it. She nodded. He usually has a cold face in front of others, but in front of good friends, Saratoga is very energetic. Bazai, what a pity, you didn't see it just now. Richelieu was mixing wine, holding the wine glass and shaking it, first throwing it up and then catching it, and then spinning the wine glass, dazzlingly, like doing acrobatics. Saratoga spoke with great joy, but Bazai just gave a perfunctory reply. Go to sleep, you'll be good to death. Saratoga was not happy with Bazai's appearance, and she patted Bazai's thigh angrily. To be honest, except for my sister Bismarck, there is no good way for anyone to take advantage of Bazai. Instead of continuing to sleep in the room, he came to the coffee shop. Not only were Bismarck and Prince Eugen in the room, but they had almost slept in the North House. I'm listening, she said. It's not that Richelieu didn't want to help, it was just that he didn't want to drink. Saratoga asked curiously, Bazai, do you drink cocktails? No, I like Coke. Potato chips, Coke, I knew it. Why didn't you become a fat pig? I don't know why I can't gain weight. Kanyang is an idealistic being, and she worries that she will actually gain weight if she eats too much. However, Bazai has no idea at all, and neither does Akagya. Saratoga said with envy, Washington is a lawyer. He knows everything about reputation. The unicorn plays the harp really well. Richelieu also knows so much. Why don't you think I can't do the same? Saratoga wanted to comfort him, but Bazai was happy, I can draw. Do you know how to chat? Saratoga approached Bazai, pinched Bazai's cheeks and rubbed them, and then stopped after a long time. Bazai rubbed his face in grievance, speak nicely, why are you pinching people? I don't know how to chat, so you go find someone else. I came to you, Saratoga said. Cocktails, do you know how to make a rattlesnake? Have no idea. Richelieu just said it, Saratoga listened, and she said, let me tell you, whiskey first. That's amazing. Bazai praised him against his will to avoid being beaten. Saratoga suddenly asked, Bazai, do you know which snake is the most venomous in the world? Bazai replied, rattlesnake. Idiot, sea snakes are the most poisonous. Bazai mumbled, it's not a rattlesnake. Why are you asking this question all of a sudden? I'm just asking. Bumblebee abandoned Guam, and she started playing chess with Wichita. However, Wichita liked to regret her chess, and she was yelling that she couldn't regret it. Saratoga looked dissatisfied and looked like a bumblebee. She looked away and said to Bazai with interest, Richelieu was mixing drinks just now. She pretended not to care. I know she wanted to show off in front of her brother-in-law. Really, Bazai already knows how to chat, although she will forget it next time. In fact, she understands everything, but she hasn't been beaten and doesn't want to think about it. Saratoga said, Richelieu is a vixen, but she has passed her time. Colorado is very fast, and her sister West Virginia is also difficult to deal with. But I found that Missouri is the most difficult to deal with of all the people. Oh, Missouri, Vixen Bazai was not interested in these at all, but Saratoga always liked to say these things, and she had no choice but to deal with it. I didn't see Missouri. Do you think she went to see her brother-in-law again? Bazai said, the Admiral is not with Missouri. You know again. I saw. Where is brother-in-law? He was with a little girl. Which little girl? Saratoga said. Fletcher. I don't know. Very cute. Saratoga slowly looked towards the North House. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai-De Rong Yan. Chapter 720. Chang Chun was chattering, while Sugu was beside him making necessary additions and explanations, and quickly made everything clear. Yuxian gently held Chang Chun's head, stroked the girl's silky long hair, and showed a happy smile, knowing that there was a successor. In fact, from a historical perspective, Chang Chun joined the People's Navy in the 1950s, underwent modernization and modifications in the 1970s, and was finally decommissioned and parked in Silver Beach, becoming a tourist attraction. Yuxian belongs to the Kuomintang Navy, and both parties belong to different parties and camps and are enemies. However, for example, the Yuxian had the experience of becoming the Adota training ship, and the Ningai was a warship purchased from Japan. Everyone was dissatisfied with the Japanese. The main reason was that the Japanese were the enemy in the minds of the crew. However, many sailors of the new China Navy, which is regarded as an enemy by big shots, do not have such awareness. Standing aside and watching, Sugu smiled, and then he started rummaging around in the kitchen. As an admiral, he must admit that he is not as capable as his shipmates, such as Lexington, Washington, etc. Although there are still some things in daily life, it is not so much that everyone can't do it and must be done by oneself, but that it is given to me by the ship girl for her own self-esteem. In a sense, I have been eating soft rice. Since you can't be a powerful admiral, then you can be a gentle admiral. Chang Chun hadn't eaten yet, but he helped to remember. Chung Ching held her hands in front of her lower abdomen. She saw Sugu's movements and said, Admiral, are you hungry again? There is nothing to eat here. Let's start preparing dinner later. It's not that I'm hungry, Sugu said. Chang Chun rushed back in a hurry. It's been a long time since I've eaten. When a ship girl goes out to sea, she may stay at sea for many days because she goes deep into the sea. She has no time to eat at all. She only needs resources to maintain her life. However, when they put away the power of their ships, they still feel hungry. Breaking free from Yuxian's arms, Chang Chun said, it doesn't matter, just wait, and it will be fine. Chang Chun said that, but Sugu couldn't really give up. He said, there is nothing here. Let's go to the coffee shop and have some snacks there. Or we can go to Kaohsiung Noodle House, which has ramen, hot pot, and oden. As long as it's his own ship girl, Sugu doesn't know the camp so clearly. It's different for everyone. The coffee shop is okay and Atlanta is operating, so how can I go to the Kaohsiung Noodle shop? Ninghai and Pinghai said, this is the kitchen. With us here, why should we go to other places to eat? Does the Admiral look down on us? When Yuxian learned about Changchun's condition, she suddenly turned serious and cold as ice. "Admiral, why didn't you tell me earlier?" Sugu said, "I was talking just now." Yuxian asked Changchun, "What do you want to eat?" Whatever. Changchun looked around. "Wait a moment," Yuxian said, and she looked at the cabinet. "You can laugh at it as a light cruiser or a slow ship. If it weren't for the sentiment, it would probably be one of the bottom among all light cruisers. But when it comes to cooking skills, Yuxian is confident that she will not lose to anyone. It is true that her cooking skills are N0.1 in the Zhenshao mansion. Chefs are usually men. The main reason is that cooking is a manual job, such as cooking, which requires strength. However, for the ship girl, this is a piece of cake. Standing in front of the stove, when Yuxian picked up the big spoon, her whole aura suddenly changed, as if there was a blazing flame burning behind her. In fact, she was just preparing egg fried rice. Chongqing stood next to Yuxian. Naturally, there was no need to start cooking these simple dishes. She was observing the cooking skills. If there is no range hood, turn on the exhaust fan. Skillfully lighting the fire, setting up the pot, pouring the oil, and waiting for the oil to gradually heat up, Yuxian cracked the eggs into the bowl. No egg beater is needed, chopsticks are enough. Wait until the oil starts to smoke, then pour the mixed egg liquid into the pot. Apron, Cheongsam with branches split to the thighs, serious beauty with black hair tied up, with methodical preparation and elegant movements, scrambled eggs and fried rice have become an art. The tangy fragrance hit her nostrils. Changchun sat at the long table in the kitchen that was usually used to place dishes. She took a deep breath. "It smells so good." Sugu was showing off next to him. "Changchun, let me tell you, egg fried rice must be made with cold rice that has been left overnight. It is no longer a British ship, but now a fishery administration ship." Chongqing studied under Yuxian and is now an excellent cook. She said next to her, "Admiral, please don't show off your little knowledge. The main reason for using overnight rice for egg fried rice is because the water in the rice will evaporate a little, which is harder and easier to spread than fresh rice. But overnight rice is too, if it becomes hard, it will also affect the taste. For fresh rice, just let it sit for a while and it will not stick together." Changchun shook his legs and chuckled, "Admiral, you are exposed, your cooking skills are not good at all." Sugu looked resentful and defended, "Changchun, you are wrong. I am very good at cooking. I learned it from Yuxian." Chongqing teased, "You come here very often, but I don't know whether you come here to learn cooking skills, or to steal food, or to talk to Yuxian and peek at his long legs." Chongqing, seeing that the joke was on him, Yuxian waved his shovel and shouted, "Ready to fight." "Okay, I won't say anything anymore." Chongqing raised his hands in surrender. Yuxian finally put down the shovel and asked Changchun again, "Changchun, do you eat spicy food?" "Eat? It's better to eat less spicy food." Finding a glass jar, it was the chili sauce she made, and Yuxian added a small spoonful of chili to the egg fried rice. Egg fried rice is a very simple dish, but Yuxian quickly finished it and served it in front of Changchun. There are no tricks, such as adding seafood, barbecued pork, ham, cucumber, etc. There are only a few green onion embellishments on the golden rice grains. Sugu said for Yuxian, the golden egg fried rice was not well served. "You can name a bowl of egg fried rice." Chongqing poured a glass of water for Changchun. Sugu sat next to Changchun. He looked at the enamel cup that Chongqing placed next to him, and pretended to be dissatisfied. "Chongqing, are you giving this to Changchun to drink?" Yet Chongqing was a little confused and didn't know what he had done wrong. "Water? Who wants to drink water?" Sugu said, "A bottle of vodka first." "I'm not bold anymore, I don't drink vodka." Changchun blinked, then raised his hand, obviously making a fool of himself. "I want mutai, wulyanjai and urkuatu." Sugu said, there is only Sanhua wine. Changchun said, yes, let's give it a try. It was just a joke. No one actually went to get the wine. Sugu watched Changchun feasting and said, I heard from Firefly that I secretly hide the wine in the room and take a small sip with the lid before going to bed every day, otherwise I won't be able to sleep. Chungqing said, I haven't heard that. Admiral, you are slandering people again. You are familiar with fireflies, or I am familiar with fireflies. Sugu looked disdainful. Changchun held chopsticks and a spoon in the bowl. She said, trust me, that Soviet cultivator. Social imperialism, Soviet revisionism, Sugu said, Changchun, do you really understand what Soviet revisionism means? Changchun admitted indifferently, I don't understand. As a light cruiser, Pinghai has the figure of a little Lolita. She lay on the long table with one hand under her chin and one hand straightened. I believe I will be with fireflies every day, otherwise I will be with Xiao Lei. If they are together, she has betrayed the revolution, been corrupted by capitalism, and is no longer a comrade. Capitalism and socialism are just mentioned for fun. Now that we are ship girls, everyone believes in admiralism. Another comrade, what a pity. Changchun shook his head, if you peel off the sugar coating, you won't even know if the cannonballs hit you back. Yuxian patted Ninghai's little head in a funny way, Firefly is a trusted friend, Xiao Lei and Dian are trusted sisters. Of course they are together every day. Pinghai snorted, chop the heads of the Japanese with the broadsword. This time Yuxian patted Ninghai's head hard and said, don't say such nonsense, it will be bad if the Japanese people hear it. In fact, knowing that now everyone is a ship girl and a sister, Pinghai shouted, I didn't talk about them. Many conflicts are caused by not paying attention to small things. Yuxian said, that can't be said. I think so too. As long as the Japanese department has not bullied you or done anything bad. Sugu interrupted. As an admiral, it is his responsibility to mediate conflicts. Although as the mascot of the garrison, it often causes conflicts. Pinghai stared at Sugu and said, you know how to help them. You are partial. My preference is also towards you. Sugu said. You are married to Shikhang, and you are with Ruhi every day. Pinghai said, you are not marrying Sister Yuxian. Sister Yuxian is nowhere near Shikhang, otherwise it would be better to marry Sister Chungqing. Sugu didn't know what to say. Yuxian and Chungqing grabbed Pinghai's face from left to right, gradually exerting force. Pinghai covered his face and fell silent. Ninghai chuckled, and Yuxian sat directly opposite Changchun and asked, is it delicious? Changchun had already finished most of the egg fried rice. She nodded repeatedly, it's delicious. It's super delicious. Changchun showed a troubled face again, I used to eat potatoes every day. There is no one on the British ship who knows how to cook. In fact, Reputation's cooking skills were not bad. Sugu said this specifically to Chungqing, to avenge Chungqing's recent confrontation. Nothing but potatoes and fried fish. Chungqing wanted to argue but had nothing to say. Especially when I'm with Yuxian, the more I get to know him, the more I feel how shallow I used to be. Changchun shook her chopsticks, it's not a British ship, it's a potato, the potato Obanon. She loves potatoes so much. She makes me baked potatoes, steamed potatoes, fried potatoes, roasted potatoes, fried potatoes, and mashed potatoes every time. It's just a potato feast anyway. Consultant Su, your friend. My best friend Changchun said, I would have called her here earlier and let her taste what delicacies are, real delicacies. Sugu remained calm and said, you can do it in the future. You can call me over later. Changchun nodded, my sonar and bomb launcher are still on her body, and I didn't ask her to come back. Suddenly something occurred to him and he tapped his chopsticks on the bowl. Changchun's face instantly turned ugly. He fell down on the dining table and muttered to himself, Admiral, I'm sorry, I can't counter-submarine anymore. After complaining crazily for a while, Changchun finally sat up straight again, with pride on his face. Although there is no way to counter-submarine, I have become stronger now. Bismarck, Tirpitz, and the Prince of Wales are all big and useless. Eat more and work less. The emergence of missiles means the advent of a new era, beyond visual range strike. It's best not to say it in front of them, Sugu reminded Changchun. He thought for a while. When it comes to over-the-horizon strikes, aircraft carriers are the best. From Sugu's understanding, battleships and battle cruisers were indeed obsolete. The most powerful naval assault ship formation is centered on an aircraft carrier, coupled with cruisers, destroyers, and support ships. Of course, it was a modern battleship, a real battleship, but there are many differences between ship girls today. To compare it to a game, before the 24th B-25 opens and cleans the ground, except for the equality of all submarines, activities can only be limited by leading the way. Sighing, Changchun frowned. The aircraft carrier was so powerful at detecting enemies that it could detect itself before it discovered them. The target cannot be found and there is no way to launch the missile, and then the carrier-based aircraft is already close at hand. She said, as long as my enemy tracking is stronger, as long as the missile's range is longer. The aircraft carrier has the highest enemy search, Sugu said. Is it possible? It's impossible. Changchun was discouraged. Hey. Why does the admiral always say depressing words to boost the enemy's morale and destroy his own prestige? Changchun suddenly dug out a spoonful of egg fried rice and brought it to Sugu. Here, I'll feed you and say a few nice words to Changchun. The girl was very close, bright and cute, and her delicate skin and curved eyelashes could be seen clearly. Originally, Sugu learned about the existence of Changchun from Missouri, and guessed whether Guogang had grown up, so Sugu inquired about the information about Guogang from Lexington. The cute little white-haired Lolita has a very serious and responsible character. She keeps saying that anyone who doesn't work well will be sent to Siberia to dig potatoes. Now Guogang has become Changchun, and is quite energetic. Not only that, he has done a lot of intimate actions from the time we met until now, it seems. Admiral control? With so many people around, Sugu wanted to refuse. Considering that Changchun had already reached this point, it wouldn't be a big deal to take a bite. Changchun didn't give up. She fed Sugu a mouthful, took another spoonful, and said, Admiral, we want to eat together in the future. Good. We can only eat with Changchun. Sugu said, isn't this bad? What's wrong? Changchun hugged Sugu's arm and leaned against him as if there was no one around. In essence, the Soviet ships and Mazi ships were bolder and more proactive than anyone else. Then the admiral must stay with Changchun no matter what he does. Bang bang bang. It sounded like fingers tapping on the glass. Sugu looked at the window and saw two people standing there. Beizai, who looked weak, looked indifferent to the fact that her admiral was being held by another little girl. Saratoga had just withdrawn her hand to knock on the glass, and her face was expressionless, neither sad nor happy. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 721. Saratoga and Beizai left, and Chongqing patted his chest with lingering fear. Why do you look so scared? Yuxian asked curiously. Chongqing hesitated to speak, but finally she spoke. Yuxian, I just saw Beizai looking at you, nodding thoughtfully while looking at you. Just take a look, what's the big deal? Yuxian said, thinking that Beizai was not evil and often bullied people in the guarding mansion. On the contrary, she was often bullied. Sugu sat aside. He heard Chongqing's words and looked around. From the ceiling fan to the exhaust fan, from the tall cabinets to the large wooden barrels for raising fish, I finally took a look at Yuxian. He suddenly realized something and showed a strange expression. Cook, tier mole, apron, There are so many attributes. As an admiral, husband, and veteran driver, Sugu naturally knows Bazai's character very well. Even though he was troubled by the Prince of Wales, followed by the Gestapo Prince Eugen, and severely taught by his sister Bismarck, he still refuses to change his ways. So, Euxian, I really don't want to see your notebook appear in front of me. But think about it, Bazai has always painted Bismarck, and probably only Bismarck wearing an apron. Chongqing shook his head and didn't say much. He still wanted to give Bazai some trust. Euxian didn't know why, but she didn't ask. After a moment, she looked at Sugu with a smile. Admiral, I have to explain it to Saratoga later. I still remember Saratoga's leaving expression. Even so, Sugu said disdainfully, explain. Why should I explain? Changchun had already let go of Sugu's hand. It was just a little act of coquettishness, but when he was satisfied, of course he let go. She now hugged Sugu's hand. The admiral is everyone's admiral, not hers alone. I can hug him if I want. Chongqing looked at Changchun. The girl looked sweet and cute, with a slim figure and a plump bust. She couldn't be called a beauty, but could be regarded as a little beauty. She said, it would be better if she was smaller. Changchun said dissatisfied, I want to be bigger. Where can it be bigger? Chongqing just finished speaking, feeling like a strange ant. Can it be higher? Euxian joked, a little taller and a little older. Changchun wants to be the admiral's, wife. It would be too wrong to tease Changchun. She would not be shy at all. She hugged Sugu tightly and said, I can be my wife now, Admiral, please give me the ring. Sugu said, wait until you are older. How big is it? Changchun said, is it as big as Sister Euxian? Your sister Euxian is almost the same age. Changchun let go of Sugu's hand. I have written it down. The Admiral will not regret it when the time comes. Sugu said, if you don't go back on your word, every spit will be a nail. Changchun lay on the table, resting his face on his folded hands, and looked at Sugu. Really, isn't it bad to have a young wife? Of course the young wife is fine, very good. Sugu said seriously, I'm not a pervert, and you're not young enough. It would be better if you were a serious and courageous little loli. In hindsight, Changchun poked Sugu's arm and said every word. Everyone came to the kitchen to prepare for dinner. After all, there were so many people in the town hall. Even if you make a big pot of rice, even if everyone has unparalleled cooking skills, it still takes a lot of time. Changchun came, which delayed it for a while, and Saratoga and Bazai showed up, which delayed it for a while again. It was getting late at this time, so Euxian asked, what would you like to eat in Changchun at night? Whatever. Euxian tilted his head, potato beef stew. Good. Ninghai took out a basket of potatoes from somewhere. The mud on them had been washed off. She put the potatoes on the long table. Changchun, it's time to peel the potatoes. His expression changed, and Changchun said seriously, I just came back, and I haven't had a good look at the town hall yet. Let's do it tomorrow. Chongqing was funny and feigned anger, let's go, and don't come back again. I don't have a sister like you. Sister Chongqing, Changchun said in a long voice, coquettishly. After leaving the canteen and walking in the corridor, Changchun put his hands behind his back. I am a guided missile destroyer, my battlefield is the sea, and my enemy is the deep sea. Sugu followed Changchun and said, you just don't want to peel potatoes. Changchun was not shy, she said, it's fine, Admiral, if you know, don't say it out loud. Sugu shook his head and said, I heard from Lexington that he is courageous, serious, and responsible, and he likes working the most. I will also shout, labor is the most glorious. Changchun said, I am no longer the fool I used to be. I happened to pass by the warehouse. Although she is a little girl, the supply ship girl kitchen god does not need to go to school. She is a little expert at work. She is taking inventory in the warehouse and is extremely serious. Sugu said, your Leipzig sister, she is a warehouse manager. I gave her help, but she was reluctant. Logistics is a good job. Changchun turned around and backed away, saying. Indeed, Leipzig regards the warehouse as its own territory. Falcon had already given in, but now there is another kitchen goddess, and she doesn't want to. However, with pressure from Lexington and Washington, we had no choice but to agree. Sugu took off Changchun's soft hat and patted the girl's head. Where did you learn these things? I have been in the workplace, Changchun said, thinking that the ship girl headquarters is not just the workplace. There was a cage covered with black cloth hanging under the eaves of the corridor. Changchun touched it and asked, what is this? The cage, Sugu said, you should know. Dumpling's pet bald eagle Bellmakin, a vicious chatterbox, prepared for it. The garrison is a no-fly zone, and anyone who violates the rules will be put in a cage. Solitary confinement. Changchun said, why is the flight banned? Would you like a bald eagle staring at you in the sky at any time? Not only Sugu, many people have suffered the loss of the bald eagle Bill McCann. This decision is well received. Thinking about that scene, Changchun shook his head. I don't want to. That would be great. But why not just eat it? It's a good idea, but it's a pity that Dumpling doesn't want to do it, Sugu said. It suddenly occurred to him that the other talkative Colossus had not come to the guardhouse recently, and he didn't know where he went to play. Thinking about it, Zeppelin was not in the town hall recently to recruit new students to the college, so she was probably the same. She is also a talkative person, but this girl is not that annoying. Although she is flat-chested and has no figure at all, she is super cute and has a nice voice. It's a pity that it can't be eaten. Walking out of the corridor, he saw two girls standing under the shade of a tree in the distance. One was endorsing a book, and the other was circling around the tree boredly. Changchun stretched out his finger. That's Andrea, right? I don't recognize the person next to her. Sugu looked over and explained, that's Andrea's sister, the battleship Kaio. She just joined the garrison a few months ago. Changchun said, I'm starting to see that Miss Missouri is also a new member of the town guard. Yes, she is a new member of the town. Besides her, there are several other people Sugu introduced. When you came over, weren't there 3 people at the dock? They were practicing carrier-based aircraft. Ark Royal, you should still remember the other 2 people. The one with short hair is York City, idiot. The one with long hair is CV-16, Essex class Lexington to be precise. In addition to these, there are so many, Changchun said. Sugu's face was full of pride, because your admiral is great. After going up a level, there was nothing to do, otherwise he wouldn't be sitting by the pier feeding the seagulls. Sugu introduced Changchun to the governor's mansion. There is a lighthouse there, and you can overlook the entire town hall from above. It's a pity that the county seat is on the other side of the mountain, so you can't see it. The small house past the lighthouse was a garage. There was a classic car in it. It was damaged by fantasy. It was never repaired and was just left there. We don't need a car. We usually have a yacht when we go out. Well, actually, there is a small car in South Dakota, California. There is also a motorcycle. Let me tell you, the motorcycle has been modified and is very fast. If I have the chance, I can take you around for a ride. After walking half a circle around the governor's house, I unexpectedly didn't see Hood and a large group of British ships sitting in the pavilion drinking afternoon tea and eating snacks. Akagi, who usually likes to sit under the tree, didn't see it either. Instead, he saw Kaga drinking wine with a wine flask and a porcelain plate. Jingle bell. Suddenly the bell rang. Although it was still early, it looked like it was 4 o'clock, and the little Lolita had finished class. After all, we don't expect them to go on to higher education or become more knowledgeable. We just want them to be controlled so that they don't run around. A large group of little Lolita appeared from the corridor of the complex. Chang Chun said, "Amethyst, Firefly, Admiral, I'm leaving." Originally it was Guo Gang, everyone was friends, but when friends came, Chang Chun decisively abandoned Sugu. After Chang Chun left, Sugu went to the coffee shop. After all, Saratoga was still waiting for him there. Without seeing Saratoga, Sugu first saw Kent. The girl was dressed in a maid outfit and her face was full of curiosity. Kent held the tray. She was standing in the corridor and saw Sugu with the girl. At this time, she asked, "Admiral, who were you with just now?" When meeting Kent, the first thing to do is of course to snatch the big tiger away from the girl. It is said that the fur of giant panda cubs is very hard, and it is not known whether the fur of tigers is hard, but the fur of this big tiger in Kent is surprisingly soft, making it very comfortable to hold. Besides, it was so fun to bully Kent and watch the girl look so pitiful. Sugushan said shamelessly, "The guided missile destroyer Chang Chun, the ship girl I just picked up, must be awesome." "Awesome," Kent said, "the big tiger returns it to me." "No, I have decided to give the big tiger as a gift to Chang Chun." "Admiral, don't joke." Sugu said seriously, "I never joke." "Ah," Kent said pitifully, "no." Sugu found Saratoga with the big tiger in his arms, walked over and sat down on the booth sofa. Before he could speak, he heard a scream first, and turned around to see Bumblebee's mournful appearance. "I thought to myself that this girl is a useless person now. She is with Northampton, doing nothing all day long, just guarding the B-25, unlike York City who is always working hard to become a powerful ship girl. The only good thing is that my figure is getting better and better." Having been waiting for a long time, Saratoga sat opposite Sugu. She asked, "Where is Chang Chun?" "She left and went to play with Xiao Zai and the others." Originally standing outside the window, Saratoga had been there since the Chang Chun feeding. It was nothing at noon, but after not seeing each other for a short time, he hooked up with a young girl in the afternoon. This is really too much. Although she has now figured out Chang Chun's identity, she is still unhappy. The resentment in her heart has reached the sky, but of course that's all. She lightly kicked Sugu's shoes under the table and said, "Brother-in-law, Chang Chun is still a little girl. If you take action, you will join the gendarmerie. She's no longer a little girl. Chang Chun is now a girl." Sugu was amused. Of course he knew what answer Saratoga wanted. But yes, Chang Chun is not a young girl like a submarine, she is indeed a girl. Even if she gets married, there is nothing to say. Besides, even if something happened to the garrison, everything could be resolved internally without outside intervention. How could Lexington, Bismarck, or the Prince of Wales allow the gendarmerie to cause trouble? Saratoga frowned, and Sugu said, "Don't worry, I won't take action against Chang Chun." Although it was only a short time, Sugu still understood. Chang Chun looks like Admiral Control, not like a love brain or Admiral Control clone who wants to be a couple or get married. She is just a girl's character and has no feeling for love at all. Saratoga stared at Sugu with sharp eyes. "Fletcher can't do it either." Why is it all about Fletcher again? Sugu felt guilty this time. Fletcher was different from Chang Chun. Every time he talked to this girl, he could see that she was very shy. Anyone with a clear eye can see that the girl is pregnant. Saratoga hummed, waiting for an answer, and Sugu said, "Fletcher has so many sisters, I can't afford them." "I see that you like the 3 Fletcher sisters very much, especially Sigsby, that little goblin." Saratoga said, "Brother-in-law, I'm just reminding you." "Remind me of what?" Suguhan wanted to hear what Saratoga had to say. Saratoga lowered her body and pointed with her finger, "Brother-in-law, Do you see who is over there? Sugu tilted his head and saw Richelieu, who was neatly dressed and handsome behind the bar. Saratoga bit her straw and said, Atlanta can't hire Richelieu as a bartender, so she just bullies honest people like Kent and Emden. In fact, London is also very weak and honest, but he doesn't dare to find her. Saratoga continued, Washington has been wearing skirts lately. I count 1, 2, and 3. The attacker will definitely come and ask you what you want. Missouri will definitely look for you at noon. You are quite powerful. Ruhi, you weakling. Don't be too partial. With the head maid, forget about the little maid. West Virginia is in great shape. Sugu remained silent, paused, and then stood up. Saratoga asked, Brother-in-law, what are you doing? Sugu said, It's rare for Richelieu to come here, so order a glass of wine and you won't stop getting drunk. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De Rong Yan. Chapter 722. The fence is covered with roses, and the walls of the building are covered with ivy. There are many magnolia trees, coconut trees, phoenix trees, betel nut trees, and short shrubs with unknown names, etc. In addition, there are lawns and flower gardens. The greening of the town mansion has always been very good. The only trouble is that there are more fallen leaves and insects. Hood walked by the flower garden, and she turned back 3 times every step of the way. The hexagonal pavilion located in the corner of the Larry mansion was originally a place that belonged to her. There were ginger and fish cakes, her favorite pets. There is black tea, which has just been brewed and I haven't taken a sip yet. There were also a variety of dazzling pastries, placed on a multi-layer cake stand, and I just ate a macaron. The blue sky, the sea breeze, and the quiet afternoon tea have always been my dream. It couldn't be better. The only thing missing is that the Admiral is by my side. Don't be greedy and don't expect the Admiral to accompany you every day. Even so, before I started enjoying it, a group of little Lolita appeared. Sisterhood. Who is this? Kakang became Changchun? Cute girl, not bad. And Hood, can I have a piece of cake? Asshole, call me sister. Please, don't look at me with those shiny eyes. Well, I haven't agreed yet, why did you just take it? Ginger and fish cakes are so cute, let me hug them. No, my little pet. Okay, don't pull the tail, just pick it up gently. I want to drink black tea. I have prepared so many cups, but they are not for you. I called the Prince of Wales, Glorious, although he did not come. And taste it slowly, don't drink like a cow. What? You still show a disgusted expression. So, it's over, everything is over. Huda straightened her long blonde hair, and she withdrew her gaze, knowing very well that there was nothing she could do against those little Lolita. After thinking about it, forget it. As an adult, as a gentle, dignified, and generous lady, I will not care about children or get angry. If you go to the coffee shop for afternoon tea, you will definitely be called a cat, so it is better to let your reputation prepare for afternoon tea. Suddenly hearing the sound of footsteps, Hood turned around and saw Bismarck walking over, holding something in his hand. It looked so familiar. It was clearly his own cake, specially baked by reputation, and he planned to save the good stuff for last. Stare. The weather was still so hot, and Bismarck was only wearing a vest with a loose collar. But this is inside the governor's mansion, so it doesn't matter. She saw Hood staring at her. What are you looking at? That. Hood said. Are you asking this? Bismarck picked up the cake and looked at it, then put it into his mouth before Hood could say anything more. The little house gave it to me. It tastes good, but it's too sweet. Hood took a deep breath and shrugged his shoulders. Thief cat. There was always Prince Eugen by Bismarck's side, and she stood up. Myopia, a cat hiding in her chest, an instant explosion. This side is the pavilion, which now belongs to a group of little Lolita. The pornographic schoolboy Mahan squatted on the ground and poked the curled up fish cake with his fingers. Her sister Cushing stayed away from her and couldn't stand the dirty jokes. The little angel Kamichia hugged Ginger, licked and looked at it curiously. She really didn't know why the eldest sister Veneto liked this plump, lazy orange cat so much. Especially every time I would sneak into the room with Ginger in my arms and lock the door, for fear that others would see what I was doing. Chang Chun sat on the stone bench in the middle of the pavilion. She looked at the little Lolita clustering around her. I didn't feel anything at first, but now I feel that I have really grown up. The fireflies, the black-backed jackals, the little house, it turned out to be just a group of children, so childish. Guogan, how did you become like this? Chang Chun had already introduced his identity, but in Firefly's memory, Guogan was still the short little girl. Wearing a fur hat and a big cloak with nothing underneath, he always speaks words like comrade, work, and potato. Among a group of little Lolita, Chang Chun can be said to stand out from the crowd. Even the girl Princess Yang Xiang and Lafayette can't compare with her. She said proudly, "Don't call me bold anymore, my name is Chang Chun now." Sitting next to me, the little fool Thatcher asked curiously, "Why is it called Chang Chun?" Chang Chun took the last cake on the cake stand and abandoned the Admiral to look for everyone. It was not just to reminisce about the past. She chuckled. The destroyer grew up bravely and became the guided missile destroyer Chang Chun. There is so much knowledge that needs to be learned, such as Chinese, mathematics, science, combat, ship knowledge, etc. It is not yet time to explain guided missile destroyers. In fact, there is a reason. As teachers, Tianlong, Ryatian, and Chi Bolin, they are not clear guided missile destroyer. Just like when three people are together, one of them must be fat. When someone wants to show off, someone is bound to ask, and Sullivan said, "What is a guided missile destroyer?" To be honest, Chang Chun herself didn't understand very well and didn't know how to describe it accurately. She thought for a while and said, "A guided missile destroyer is a guided missile destroyer. I can launch missiles to sink the enemy, unlike you who can only launch torpedo attacks. The enemy is only easy to hit and cause great damage at night. Well, you can shell them during the day, but the firepower is poor." Chang Chun's words immediately made people dissatisfied. Xian Xiang lay on the stone table with his silver hair spread out on the stone table. "What's the big deal about missiles? What's the big deal?" "That's a good question." Chang Chun raised his voice. "I used to work at the ship girl headquarters. Do you know how many results I got? I'll scare you to death if I tell you." Chang Chun hugged a number. She remembered this number clearly. After all, she mentioned it from time to time. She said, "In the entire Zizhu department, there are battleships, battle cruisers, and aircraft carriers. No one has achieved more results than me. It only took a few months to easily surpass their results in half a year. Not every aircraft carrier has excellent carrier-based aircraft." Chang Chun thought that thanks to the Penguin anti-ship missile, it would not be possible otherwise. Lafayette sat on the bench railing of the pavilion and leaned on the eaves. She said, "What's so great about this? Once the victory is achieved, I can't even remember how many deep-sea warships I have sunk." Chang Chun was stunned. She knew that Lafayette had often attacked before and had gained countless victories. She thought for a while, a good man is not brave enough, and you have more victories, but you attack more often. I am different. I have attacked almost as many times as them, but I have achieved more results than them. Lafayette, you attack with Sister Lexington and Sister Gaga, can you beat them? Can't grab it. This sentence was not said by Lafayette. She would not say such words of admitting defeat. This was just a wishful thinking. This girl didn't care at all. I just remember one time Changchun held a small porcelain cup and sipped black tea. In fact, he just took a sip and looked like a fool. The rain was heavy and the lightning was like a silver snake, lighting up the whole world. I was alone while patrolling the sea. I suddenly saw a steel sea dragon appearing in front of me. I was overwhelmed by pressure and terror. What was it? A deep-sea battleship. I found her, and the radar told me that she was swimming towards me. I had no idea. There was no way to go, and the city was behind me. I couldn't retreat, so I fired 2 missiles. I usually like to listen to the Admiral telling stories. After listening to it too much, it is clear that the climax of the story is coming, and all the little Lolita hold their breath. After waiting for a while, Changchun remained silent. Finally, Sullivan couldn't help but ask curiously, "Changchun, are you behind?" "What's behind?" Changchun said. "How is the deep-sea battleship?" "It sank." "The deep-sea battleship sank and was defeated by me," Changchun said proudly. "I am a guided missile destroyer. I have already fired the missiles. It must have been sunk by me. There is no need to say more." The big devil decided to conquer the world and just walked out of the castle and met the brave man. Without magic, fighting skills, or fighting to the point of darkness, the brave man simply stabbed the big devil to death with a single sword, and lived a happy life from then on. Well, it really couldn't be a worse story. It would be better to say that the hero and the princess sat by the bed, hugging and kissing, without the couple being tangled in red waves. Only 10,000 words were omitted here, and there was nothing. The night passed, and we arrived directly. The next morning. The car has already passed before I even got on the bus, and I couldn't even see the shadow. It was simply hateful. Lafayette's face was expressionless and she said, "What's the process?" Changchun said, "Without the process, no one can survive one of my missiles." Staring with big eyes, Lafayette paused and said, "Shall we give it a try?" Sugu was sitting in the coffee shop. He drank 2 glasses of cocktails, the kind that were not too high but sweet, more like drinks than wine. Because Bumblebee was making a fuss, he took action and humiliated the restless Bumblebee 3 times at chess. No, I just returned to the booth and sat down on the sofa, sleeping on Saratoga's lap pillow, and then I learned that Changchun had gone to practice with a group of little Lolita. Annoyingly, when he arrived at the dock, the exercise was over and he saw nothing. Lafayette knelt on the ground with his hands on the ground, looking in disbelief. She has always been very swollen. No aircraft carrier's carrier-based aircraft can defeat her. Her evasion is very high. Except for heavy cruisers, no one can easily defeat her. However, she did not expect to lose to the missile so easily. It is completely unavoidable. I lost. How can it be? Again. After Lafayette lost, Firefly also challenged Changchun, and she also lost. It can't be hit with artillery fire, and it can't be used with the headbutt. It's so far away, and the missile has already flown over. But after losing, she was not upset. The Changchun is amazing. It would be nice if there was trust. I guess it still won't work. Only in vain did she feel triumphant. She ran to Sugu's side and said, "As long as I use my full strength, no one can hit me, no matter shelling, torpedoes, carrier-based aircraft, or missiles." Sugu stroked the girl's long hair and said, "So you usually flop." Kong Xiang panicked, then fell down, hitting his head with his little fist and showing a cute smile. Sugu saw Missouri, a girl standing on the edge of the pier with her arms folded, looking like she had been here for a long time, and asked her, "What did you get here from?" "I've always been here." Missouri watched the whole process, and still has lingering fears. "I have made up my mind and cannot underestimate Changchun. Also, be sure to work hard to become a guided missile cruiser." Changchun advisor Su, How is the combat effectiveness of the guided missile destroyer? Do whatever you want, Missouri said. So awesome, Sugu felt deeply regretful that he didn't see the drill. It was already so late when he was notified that it was over. Missouri grinned and said, the only problem is that there are not enough missile destroyers. Although she lost to Utopia, it was enough to win so many people. Chang Chun stood next to Sugu. She said happily, Shangyu -1 missile, C -301 missile. As long as it is not an aircraft carrier or a submarine, forget it. It's a battleship, no problem at all. Who else? Sugu then remembered that the company's C -301 missiles were taken away and given to Chang Chun. Then Tofel found Chang Chun and said, who gave you the C -301 missiles? Did they tell you who to give it back to, or what? Chang Chun thought for a while and said, Sister Miao Gao said that you know the enterprise and asked you to. Sugu finally understood what Chang Chun meant by Miao Gao. Your admiral is so familiar with the company, so just let them discuss the missile matter. Listening to what Chang Chun said next to him, Missouri interrupted, it's impossible to return such powerful equipment, so what can I get in exchange for it? Now that I've got it, just black out it? Sugu said, this is a good idea. After all, of course the two of them were just joking and couldn't do such a thing. Sugu looked at York City and nodded thoughtfully. York City noticed Sugu's gaze. She felt uncomfortable and crossed her arms, don't try to take advantage of my carrier-based aircraft. I only have gale, that's no good. The strong wind didn't catch your attention, Sugu said. What did you just say? York City said loudly, no, otherwise I will kick someone. The drill was just a small interlude. Soon it got dark and the bell rang. It was obviously dinner time. Back in the cafeteria, Yuxian prepared dinner, which was quite sumptuous and filled a long table. Until the end of the lively dinner, Lafite still looked a little disappointed. Chang Chun, you keep showing off, huh? One of the admiral's functions is to enlighten the ship girl. Sugu said, my Lafite, don't just see that Chang Chun's missiles are powerful, their consumption is also high. And her survivability is not as good as yours. Afraid to death of aircraft carriers, afraid of carrier-based aircraft, well, let me tell you quietly, she cannot conduct anti-submarine warfare. Only then did Lafite become happy, humph, Chang Chun. Lafite looked up at Sugu, Admiral, would you like to tell us a story tonight? Chang Chun started telling a story, which was terrible. Okay, when little Lolita or girls have needs, Sugu never refuses. Chang Chun came out of nowhere, I want to hear the story too. Lafite said, Admiral, let's talk about the Wizard of Oz tonight. It should be over soon. Magic version. Chang Chun said, I didn't listen before. Can you tell me a new story? Lafite said, not good. All in all, Chang Chun settled down in the governor's mansion. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 723. Inside the simply decorated office, the atmosphere felt a little solemn for a while. Do you want it? After a long time, the company spoke. No, Sugu said. Missouri shook the apple in her hand to indicate that I had this. I want it, Chang Chun said, thank you. Enterprise said, you're welcome. Such a polite boy. Dressed in neat autumn clothes, jeans that outline his slender thighs, and wearing willow leaf earrings, he looks beautiful and handsome. She put the candy dish back on the desk and took a long piece of halva herself. Enterprise took a bite of the halva and thought to himself, he once worked in the combat team and later became the leader of the ship girl branch. We encountered a lot of problems along the way, but it was really not difficult to solve them. To a certain extent, it can be said that it was smooth sailing. Now she has become the eldest sister of the largest ship girl branch in the nearby sea area. She is responsible for the combat team, command team, logistics team. I don't know how many ship girls I have, but I have encountered a problem. What is the problem? Watching people pretending to be cool all day long, but failing to do so, makes life difficult. Enterprise clicked and ate the halva, and looked at the young man wearing a white admiral uniform, smiling happily and disgustingly. She showed an angry look on her face. What the hell? How come a rare ship girl is your ship, mother? Sitting on the sofa, although he wanted to pretend to be so, Sugu was a very humble person. He said, not every rare ship girl is my ship girl, but Changchun happens to be my ship girl. I still lack. There are many rare ship girls, such as U-156, U-96, Duke of York, Des Moines, Wisconsin, and incomparable, so many that I can't even count them all, and more efforts are needed. Are you still working hard? Enterprise opened her eyes slightly and said, why do you want to be a little admiral? Why don't you come and sit in my seat? Sugu waved his hand and said, I can't. There are regulations. The top leader of any ship girl branch must be a ship girl. And in order to avoid suspicion, he cannot have an admiral, otherwise he must resign. For example, I can be the governor at most, but actually the governor I don't want to do it either. The responsibility is so big, so it's better to be a little admiral. As a person, I never ask for 100 points, 80 points is about the same, 60 points is about the same, as long as I don't lose my dignity. Enterprise hummed, she chewed, finished the halva, and took another sip of water. Immediately he clapped his hands, wiped off the crumbs of marshmallows on his hands, and turned to look at the cute silver-haired girl in front of him who was full of pride and confidence, with a look of pity on his face. Why doesn't it belong to me? People with good intentions divide ship girls into 3, 6, or 9 grades. Although star fraud is a common thing, it still has a certain reference value. The Kokang destroyer is considered a 4-star purple-skinned ship, which can be said to be a rare ship girl. But with so many ship girl branches and garrison offices nearby, there are still a few brave ones. In contrast, the guided missile destroyer Changchun that Kokang grew up to be seen for the first time in so many years. It seems that it has never appeared before. After all, there is no record at all. If it is just a rarity, the company thinks of the scene it just saw. The silver-haired girl Changchun stood on the sea with her ship uniform fully unfolded. There is no heavy armor or ferocious turret like a battleship. You only need to take a look at it to know how powerful it is. On the contrary, the ship's outfit has no momentum, it just looks a little strange. However, with the shout of launch, the missile flew out from the missile launcher dragging a long firework. A battle-hardened member of his combat team, the ship girl with the highest level of training and the best dodge. No matter how many chimneys and standard power systems it is equipped with, no matter how much it accelerates, decelerates, turns sharply on the sea surface, or how many actions it takes to evade attacks, the missile will hit the head impartially. I thought there was no way to do better, no way to dodge attacks. Ask the people watching the game around you. Houston, Brooklyn, and the Langley hit anyone who dared to raise their forehead. No one can dodge the attack. How can he be so strong? Enterprise reached out and touched Changchun's head. Due to Changchun's friendly personality, we have become very familiar with him after only a few days of getting along with him. Sugu put his arms around Changchun's shoulders, and he smiled and said, my Changchun is so strong, I just do whatever I want. Changchun hugged Sugu's waist, be strong. Changchun returned to the garrison, bringing with him the C-301 anti-ship missiles that originally belonged to the company. It is said that the person who owes something is the uncle, but Sugu never likes to owe people things, whether it is money, equipment, favors or whatever. She had originally decided to come over the next day, but in order to rush back to the governor's mansion, Changchun had to sleep in the open air and under the stars, so she was allowed to have a good rest before coming out. C-301 anti-ship missiles will be returned when necessary and traded when necessary. However, the business hasn't been discussed yet. The company wants to see Changchun's combat effectiveness first. It's not that Sugu is belittling people. Except for the little Princess Kongxiang, who was lucky enough to escape several missile attacks, the rest of the people in his mansion are no match at all. I don't believe that the company's subordinates have more people than everyone else. Of course, companies can win unless they move out submarines or aircraft carriers, but even if they win, they will definitely not be happy. Although Changchun has the consumption of big ships, I should say big ships. Enterprise sighed and said, Guide missile destroyer, I really hope our Geet and Bauer can do it too. I thought that growing up would never be that easy without practice. I still don't know what the level of your Geet and Ball is. All asked about it? I usually don't want to attack others, maybe more than 10 levels. Sugu said, I hope so. The hit rate is too high, it's terrifyingly high, the company said. With this hit rate, if the firepower is higher, how will others be able to play? Sugu still agreed with this and nodded. However, before he could say anything, Missouri, who had been silent while eating the apple, pushed him and whispered, Be careful what you say. Sugu was stunned for a moment, confused. Let me do it, you're not even close. Missouri sighed. She stood up and said, Missiles with high firepower consume a lot of money. Our garrison is too small and can't afford to use them. Things like B-25 and a -2, I don't dare to use it casually during normal sorties, and it hurts me to death if one of them falls. The last time York City was taught a lesson, it was a small deep-sea destroyer that shot down 2 B-25s. Changchun wanted to speak. She really wanted the C-301 missile. Missouri blinked at her and immediately shut up. Enterprise crossed his arms and pretended to be absent-minded. Your battleship is better, even if it has no equipment, it can still bombard. It's like our aircraft carrier. Without carrier-based aircraft, it can't fly carrier-based aircraft at all. It seems that Changchun also has this problem. It's a pity if there are no missiles, it will not be able to launch so many missiles, and the combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced. If there are additional missiles, the combat effectiveness will probably be doubled. Yeah, without the missiles, Changchun won't have such a high combat effectiveness. Missouri chuckled. Fortunately, apart from the upstream -1 missiles in Changchun, the shipgirl branch she used to work in, the California, good guy, I gave her a Penguin anti-ship missile. So she has 2 missiles, so she won more battles in a short period of time than many people. The Penguin anti-ship missile is not good, the firepower is too low, but it also has some advantages, that is, the consumption is low. Think about it, it is difficult to attack big ships anyway, and it is almost enough to be a killer of small ships. There is no need to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife. The company stopped talking and got straight to the point. She suddenly said, a hero aircraft. Mk6. I just want another Mk6. You just talked about a hero aircraft last time, Missouri said, the price didn't increase that fast. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. As a leader, I cannot let my subordinates down, otherwise they will all be separated from each other by then. I want Mk6, not for myself. The company is righteous. It's not that I'm blaming you, it's not that I'm scolding, it's not that I'm complaining, it's not that I'm unreasonable. Missouri laughed wantonly. Okay, you can't be sorry for your subordinates. 1 Mk6 is just enough for a C-301 anti-ship missile. It's golden equipment. The company took it for granted, there are good and bad gold skins. La-7, Core High-Dub aircraft, P-39, Pakresh gold aircraft, Sea-Fang and Gale are all gold skins. The one in front is replaced by the one in the back. There's no problem with the 2 planes. Missouri said, I can give you the hero aircraft, but you don't have two C-301 anti-ship missiles. I think the C-301 anti-ship missile should be considered a color skin, the company said. Really, it's like a color skin or a gold skin. It's almost the same. I don't know who came up with the standards. It's a mess. Especially that one. Yes, 275 fire control radar. It is obviously a color leather, with 7 anti-aircraft points and 6 hit points. The advanced fire control radar is gold-skinned, with 8 anti-aircraft points and 7 hit points, which is actually a bit better. Think about twin 15-inch guns, modified, Missouri said, triple 16-inch guns, blue. I think there is no problem in rating them gold. I can give you 2. I'll give in, Enterprise said, Hero machine plus triple 16-inch cannon. No, I can't be sorry. It's better to have Seafang plus Mk6. You have a lot of them in the garrison anyway. Sitting on the ground to pay back the money, Missouri said, I'll take a step back. Exchange one Mk6 for another. Otherwise, I'll give you the triple 16-inch cannon. York City has a Gale, and I'll give it to you too. Well, if you don't want a fighter jet, we'll give it to you too. You can give it to a BTD-1 destroyer. In the final analysis, the C-301 anti-ship missile is not a timely help, but just the icing on the cake. Enterprises look to Missouri, and Missouri refuses to admit defeat and looks to Enterprises. If this were a comic book, if the two people's eyes collided, there would have been fierce sparks. Sugu was confused at first, but this time he finally understood. It turned out that the battle had already begun and the deal was being negotiated. In fact, the transaction has been deadlocked, and the company decided to start elsewhere. She said, I don't understand. Your garrison has such good equipment and is not using it. Otherwise, it would cost too much and you can't use it. Why can't you give it to others to use? Missouri said, I have many wives, and I can't accompany so many people at all. But whoever dares to touch my wife, I can't beat him to death. The company started to laugh. Who is your wife? My wife is a businesswoman. I like her legs, Missouri said lightly. The company said, I used to go to the human government for research. Some departments were very busy, so I asked the idle departments to transfer people. I never refused. Who are you bluffing? Missouri said, you can borrow me on secondment, please just come back when the time comes. As a leader, I have always been very generous. How many days can I borrow you, 1 day or 2 days? Enterprise took a deep breath. I helped you guard the mansion a lot for you, I withstood a lot of pressure from the government. Otherwise, you would all have to attack and suppress the deep-sea flagship. Missouri said, our garrison has helped you a lot, suppressing countless powerful deep-sea ship girls. Haha, pressure, what kind of pressure? You asked the government people to come to us. If we don't want to, who can force us? Can't do it. If you are poor, you can only take care of yourself. If you are prosperous, you can help the world. This is a good saying. Enterprises clicked their tongues. You don't enjoy rights and don't assume obligations. Our town government doesn't enjoy any super-standard treatment. Missouri chuckled. Enterprise, what do you understand by moral kidnapping? If reasoning doesn't work, then use emotion. The company says, Missouri, are we friends? Of course we are friends, not just good friends, but also good comrades in arms. Missouri said, without us Changchun, the C-301 anti-ship missile is just scrap metal and no one can use it. If not you, I will give it to her. An F-2 a Buffalo is enough, let's get rid of it. Enterprise lowered his head slightly and said, I remember that we were in the combat group before, and we went on an attack together. Once you were shot, and a group of bombers just fell on your head. If I hadn't controlled the fighter jets to shoot down those bombers, you would be here now. I'm afraid it's already sunk. How can you talk to me today? I just got shot, and do you know how much I can control the air? Missouri chuckled, and she said, are you really embarrassed to say that? You can't control the air with an aircraft carrier. Go home and plant sweet potatoes. Plant potatoes. Well. Speaking of which, well, let me think about it. I remember that you had a big breakup once and couldn't fly the carrier-based aircraft. It's better for me to escort you and help you back, otherwise a random person on the road will kill you. When did I break the bank? Even if I break the bank, with my big E and incredible luck, how could I encounter an enemy if I wasn't a lucky E like Hood? Enterprise stiffened his neck and patted the desk fiercely. Suddenly he turned around and yelled, and you, who do you think is old? Missouri said, I said you are old, 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 old woman, no one wants you. Enterprise glanced at Sugu up and down, and said, Missouri, you're a nymphomaniac. We've only known each other for a long time, why are your elbows so crooked? It's really the water thrown by a married daughter. Missouri said, Enterprise, don't take advantage of me, who are you? The company said, haha, if you get married in the future, I won't go and I won't give you any red envelopes. From now on, you will have to be a child. Missouri is not an easy person to deal with. You serve tea, but I won't drink it. Sugu hugged Changchun and shivered.